Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez looking at a rainy, foggy White House there in Washington, D.C. on this Wednesday, May 28th. Thanks so much for streaming in with us as we are slowly gearing up for that Friday rally in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So it'll be Rally Day in America, but there's a lot of news to get to today and through the week until we get to Friday. So today we're going to be going out west to Las Vegas as the Vice President JD Vance will be speaking at the Bitcoin conference there, the 2025 Bitcoin conference. We'll also be joined by a number of people that will talk to us about Bitcoin and the economy coming up later in the broadcast. So definitely a great economic angle today. And if there's any other live events or things that pop up, we'll have it here for you on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So the Vice President will speak at 12 noon, and that's 9 a.m. out there, of course, on the West Coast. So we'll have that speech in its entirety. This is the world's largest Bitcoin event. There are 30,000 Bitcoiners, 5,000 attending companies. So a lot of people, of course, going to be there. We also have a soundbite from President Trump when he spoke at the Nashville Bitcoin conference in July of 2024. We'll go to that in just a bit. Speaking of the president, today he will participate in a swearing-in ceremony for the interim United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. That'll be at the Oval Office. And then at 2 o'clock, the president will be signing executive orders. So any of those details or a playback of a video of the president, whether it's from the executive orders or that swearing-in ceremony for the interim U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, we'll be able to play that back for you here on the channel if we're live. If for some reason we're not at that point, we always upload it, of course, to Rumble and all of our platforms. So looking forward to seeing various news events happen today, including going from cloudy, rainy D.C. out there to hot and steamy Vegas. I know that it had already reached the 100-degree mark just a couple weeks ago out there. So a huge, huge conference going on in Vegas. Of course, we're told that this is the world's largest Bitcoin event. Don Jr. is there, Eric Trump is there, the Vice President is there, along with a lot of CEOs and founders of different Bitcoin companies and analysts and reporters. This is the heyday for the people that really love Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Those of you that have no clue about any of that stuff, I'm more on that side of things. We're going to have a great interview coming up at 11:15 this morning. Les Borsai, the government crypto advisor. He's a co-founder of Wave Digital Assets. He'll join us at 11:15 to break down some of the 30,000-foot view of cryptocurrency. And also, we're going to go over some specifics, some latest news when it comes to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. There's actually an article that we have that was just posted on RSBN, on Truth Social and X, that we can show you and talk to you about, and also an executive order about cryptocurrency from President Trump back in March. So we'll dive in pretty deep to a lot of the details here as we continue our coverage live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Producer, can you please repeat? All right, let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com in the meantime. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Beautiful, beautiful graphics there, but also a beautiful company that provides you ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, amoxicillin, methylene blue, penicillin, whatever you're looking for. There are 200 plus essential medications at that site, including antibiotics, and also getting that RSBN 20% off. That goes into the end of June. You can also order a number of health kits there, first aid kit, travel kit. You can order in bulk. But the main reason why I think allfamilypharmacy.com is doing great is because the people that are saying, well, my doctor or my pharmacist won't write a prescription for me for ivermectin or for all sorts of medications. And, I have to go through this whole process of make a doctor's appointment, then go there, then pay for that. And if I don't have insurance, I got to pay out of pocket. It's a whole thing. Well, with All Family Pharmacy, you just go to the website, type out a little bit of medical paperwork there online, and then before you know it, you'll get your medications sent to you. So great sponsor here at Right Side. Let's also go to Colonial Metals Group, another awesome sponsor. If you're looking for a free info kit on gold and silver, you can get that right there at the QR code, but also at freegoldguide.com/RSBN. You know those BRICS nations out there, they try and use their own currency instead of the US dollar. The inflation situation, it's going down, thank God for Maganomics and President Trump and his team. but also having gold and silver as a backup, for your retirement or savings. You can always slide that over there. Hedge against inflation. Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/RSBN, another awesome sponsor at Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's 10:06 this morning. All tax-free on that Colonial Metals Group as well, so a great deal there. All right, so we're looking live, of course, in D.C. As soon as we get a live feed out there in Vegas, we will go there, and we will hear from the Vice President of the United States, JD Vance, who will be speaking at the Bitcoin conference. Vivek Ramaswamy also there. And as I mentioned earlier, Don Jr., Eric Trump, and a number of CEOs and founders of Bitcoin companies and all of the Bitcoin magazines and all of the online material that's anything cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. It's definitely out there, even right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Not only are we covering it here live, you can also check it out on our website and also on Truth Social and X. Right now, I'm currently on Truth Social. So an hour ago, Trump Media announces a $2.5 billion Bitcoin treasury deal. So there's specifics there that you can read about on RSBN. So if you just look on Truth Social, you can find out some more details. We'll get back to that article in just a bit. On top of that, this was in March, the president's executive order saying in Section 1, the background, Bitcoin is the original cryptocurrency. The Bitcoin protocol permanently caps the total supply of Bitcoin at 21 million coins and has never been hacked. As a result of its scarcity and security, Bitcoin is often referred to as a digital gold. Because there is a fixed supply of Bitcoin, there is a strategic advantage to being among the first nations to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So you can see the president and the team obviously understanding some of the differences of finances when it comes to, okay, we've got the dollar, we've got our money online and that kind of thing. But this situation here with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, the president talking about that a lot. It is also the policy of the United States now to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. It is further the policy of the United States to establish a United States digital asset stockpile that can serve as a secure account for orderly and strategic management of the United States' other digital asset holdings. So we'll dive into more of that a little bit later as we get a live picture from Vegas and get ready to go out there to Nevada, a great state, of course, that went to President Trump along with all of the other swing states across the union. And we will be going to the vice president there. He'll have the entire speech. We'll bring it to you live right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Coming up in just a few minutes, Ike Wingate of the Ike Wingate Show will join us to talk about some of the accomplishments so far that he's seen, and also anything that he'd want to chime in about when it comes to the economy, Bitcoin, and cryptocurrency, and just the fact that we have a White House that is with it when it comes to what's happening out there in our country and what's the best way for us to make money? What's the best trade deals? And then on top of that, outside of the economy, of course, peace through strength when it comes to the military. And then the southern border, we have all these military service members, thank God for them, down there, along with the great Customs Border Protection agents, doing a great job, really sealing the border and also using drones to see what the heck's happening on the other side of the border. Because what we're hearing here at Right Side is that the drug cartel, the terrorist organization, they are using their own drones to monitor movements on our side of the border and also, in some cases, dropping narcotics and that kind of thing, delivering things at different points. So there's a decent amount of stuff going on down there on the southern border as our country is continuing to seal that border. And also, within the big, beautiful bill, it will specifically finish President Trump's border wall. So if you look at the old border wall versus President Trump's new wall that's going up and has already gone up in many miles of the southern border, quite the stark contrast there. And the pictures really prove it right there. All right, again, so the world's largest Bitcoin event, that's 30,000 people that are there, 5,000 attending companies. That's a lot of new companies as well. President Trump spoke at a Nashville Bitcoin conference last year. I believe we have that soundbite ready to go. This was from July 2024 in Nashville, Tennessee. It was a Bitcoin conference there. Now they shift over to Las Vegas, two towns. If you want to have a good time, well, Vegas and Nashville, man, I'll tell you. that's a place that you can go and listen to some live music or just kick it and enjoy the scenery there when it comes to the desert in Vegas with that hot weather, but also Nashville with the great music scene. Anyway, let's go to that soundbite from President Trump just last year.
It's about common sense. We want to bring common sense back in. This is all common sense that we're talking about today. And Bitcoin and crypto will skyrocket like never before, even beyond your expectations. And you are the people that are doing it. As we stop the war on crypto, we will immediately, and we'll do this very quickly, begin to build our economy, because when America is prospering, Bitcoin is soaring and it'll go up with it. We had the greatest economy ever, and we will soon have it again.
So that from the commander-in-chief. Actually, he wasn't the commander-in-chief at that point last year in July, but on his way, of course, for a huge win. So you see then, you see now the vice president will be speaking in Vegas about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So we're going to have that entire speech for you. All of this brought to you by various sponsors, including angelpaste.com. Use that RSBN promo code. You'll get a discount off. A lot of great products there, including the Miracle Cream that you see on the side of your screen. But once you go to the website, you'll see a number of other products out of Spring, Texas. They also hire military veterans, a great, great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, angelpaste.com. Let's also go to kalshi.com/RSBN, kalshi.com. Right below me is that QR code. You can trade on the most important events. Also, there's other things outside of the important events like weather or, in some cases, science, technology, but yes, politics and faith, sports, all sorts of things you can bet and trade on. If you go to kalshi.com/RSBN, you'll see all these different things that people are talking about and actually trading on. Right there, kalshi.com. At 10:12, now 10:13, Wednesday, May 28th. Looking live there at the White House. Nice and cloudy and rainy, but still sunny skies when it comes to the great things that are happening across our country. Let's bring in Ike Wingate of the Ike Wingate Show. Ike, I mean, yeah, cloudy in D.C. right now, but still we're seeing a lot of good things happen across our country, aren't we?
We are seeing a lot of good things start to really come into play here with the inflation rate less than expected, with the jobs better than expected. We're seeing some of these things come together. Gas prices, the lowest point since 2021. Grocery prices are coming down. What we continue to wonder about, Matthew, is the interest rate. Where is that going to go? I mean, typically you see an economy where inflation is stabilized or coming down, you would lower the interest rate. And I can tell you, I have conversations with investors and folks in real estate pretty regularly. That's something I'm involved in. There are a lot of deals that were entered into, say, in 2022, 2023, that were not accounting in their pro forma for such rapid interest rate increases. And so that, to me, is a bit of an unknown area of our economy right now. If we don't get some relief there so people can restructure some of these deals, we could see some problems in that area. So I hope the Federal Reserve will do something.
Yeah, we'll see what Jerome Powell does. And we know that President Trump talks about it on Truth Social quite often and not afraid to do so. Some other presidents didn't even touch it, but he's like, hey, this is common sense to take care of this. Ike, can you break down a few things for us when it comes to cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, that whole thing? Can you give us a 30,000-foot view on what the heck it is for those that just don't understand the whole process?
Yeah, well, I'm no expert, so it's certainly one of those things where you think you understand it, and then you get some more information, and you're like, wait a minute, do I understand it? But what has been told to me from people that actually have been involved in mining Bitcoin and things like that, it's digital currency, and you are able to use a certain technology to mine it. There's a set amount of it, and it has been increasing in value for the last nearly 10 years. And so it's actually been a very, very good investment long term. It's had some big ups and big down points, but it's been stabilized. As far as diversification, it's actually a very good thing to look at, and I like that Donald Trump is talking about it. I was just thinking, I don't even think I ever heard Joe Biden or Kamala Harris ever even mentioned Bitcoin. And Donald Trump he's a visionary. So he is thinking about these things. He's thinking forward. Obviously, he's thinking a lot about AI. And so he is looking at this as even a potential reserve type of currency, if you will, to help us hedge against currency devaluation. And so that's probably, according to Kalshi and the betting markets, you'll probably hear something mentioned about a strategic reserve today in Vice President Vance's speech.
And then to your point, the fact that the president and now the vice president both speaking at a Bitcoin conference, the president last year in Nashville, this year the vice president in Vegas, really is telling to see that this president is awake, unlike Biden, who was asleep at the wheel, to your point.
And that's exactly right. It's really a low bar, unfortunately. And the more we find out, the more infuriating it is. But we have gone from, even if Joe Biden was a pretty good president or awake or with it, it would still be such a stark difference in energy, alertness, focus, and just the ability to see out in front in the windshield ahead of us where things are going, not where we're at now. So even if Joe Biden was a decent president, it would seem like a stark difference. But the fact that we had AutoPen in there making the decisions and sort of his inner circle and just how he was asleep at the wheel, I don't think he really even knew what was going on. And the blame, keeps shifting around as far as who should be to blame. But regardless, the American people were the big losers in that situation. And so it's just so refreshing to have somebody who is working so hard for the American people day after day. It's kind of hard to keep up sometimes as far as which way he's going to go next.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, today he's signing executive orders at the Oval Office. He's going to be participating in a swearing-in ceremony for an interim attorney for the U.S. D.C. court there. So a lot going on, to your point. Your thoughts about the fact that he has a rally on Friday? Always great to see that. The American people absolutely love rallies, and they love President Trump, don't they?
They do love President Trump, and he loves the rallies, and he loves the American people. And I was watching the last rally and thinking, I bet he really, really has been missing these rallies because, he certainly relaxes in the Oval Office, and he's taking those questions back and forth, and he's taking the fire. But there is something that comes alive with President Trump when he's in front of a live crowd. He enjoys it. You know that it is something that makes him feel good, and he's just an entertainer at heart, a showman. And so I think it wouldn't surprise me if we're going to see, regular rallies from him, even though he can't run for, re-election. It is important to be out there in front of the American people and be with them. So many politicians lose that. They lose connection. They want to hide away from their constituents. But Donald Trump is not the quintessential politician.
Exactly. Thank God for that, being an outsider. But also, Ike, within that framework, it's also an opportunity to push back against the mainstream media lies, to keep that narrative going. And everyone focuses in, especially at these rallies, on what President Trump says. So these are very powerful statements to keep public opinion on the right side of history. Just common sense, right?
You got to take truth right to the masses, and you cannot let a vacuum exist with the mainstream media. And Donald Trump has been an expert in that for a long time, and he is a master at controlling the media narrative from the standpoint of they're going to talk about whatever he's talking about. And so I think it's absolutely important to continue to put out the information that is actually happening. Truth and transparency is how I view it. And the mainstream media would rather he not. They would rather he be quiet so they can control the narrative. And Donald Trump in the previous administration, Trump 1.0, maybe was a little more reactionary or defensive versus how he is now, which is very proactive, very out in front, which is why the mainstream media has been struggling to keep up this time. It's been incredible to watch.
Great point there. He's in that power position now, and the media is the one that is in the weak state of trying to change the narrative. A couple more questions for you. We're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill in just a second, but I'm really liking this discussion about media and public opinion and that kind of thing. So when 2028, 2029 rolls around, And President Trump still will have a voice regardless of sitting at the 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. But the job of yourself, myself, conservative media as a whole, Right Side Broadcasting Network, many others out there that are on the right side of history, is it not then our job to keep the correction over on the right side of history with the narrative? You know, President Trump speaks and he's got that power. Then it will shift over to conservative media, won't it?
I believe so, and you'll also see people sort of rise through the ranks and come into their own as far as their own voice, inspired, though, by President Trump. And you're already seeing it with, like, Vice President JD Vance and others who are not sitting back and playing defense. They're actually turning things around and sort of asking the media questions. I think back to President or Vice President Vance when the lady Martha from, I believe it was maybe ABC, I don't remember. But anyway, she was talking about the Tren de Aragua taking over, only a handful of apartment complexes in Colorado. And J.D. Vance at the time said, "Martha, do you hear yourself?" And so that is a different exchange than what we've seen in the past. And so you are already seeing that people have learned not to just take this lying down and accept whatever the media narrative is. Vice President Vance is a prime example of that. And what I've noticed is that because he has been inspired, I think, and learned from President Trump, he actually allows President Trump to sort of be the good cop in the bad cop, good cop scenario. So J.D. Vance sort of is aggressive a lot of times, and a lot of times President Trump sort of sits back and watches it. And I think you're going to see that continue to occur in both men and women inside the conservative movement, media as well, looking at the example of President Trump and saying, what would he do in this situation? Kind of like what we do with Rush Limbaugh sometimes is what would he think about this? And then having that carry on into the next generation.
Yep, you stole the words right out of my mouth. Rush Limbaugh and President Trump, the inspiration that we have from both, because we know President Trump, even outside of real estate, outside of being a great president, the media knowledge that he has on how to really get the narrative and really speak truth into it is great to see. So yeah, a lot of inspiration there because he called out the fake news. You remember when Jim Acosta was trying to argue with him at the East Room of the White House, and he goes, "No, sit down, sit down." I mean, what president does that? But ours does, because he's not going to, as you said, not just going to take the lies and not do anything about it. Let's shift over. One more thing about media, and then we'll get to the big, beautiful bill. Did you see the other day in the Oval Office when the South African leader was there, and President Trump showed the video, the terrible video of what's happening there in South Africa. And after that moment, the mainstream media decides, no, we're going to ignore all of that, ignore that moment of the seriousness of it, and then ask a question about the Qatari airline that we're getting at the DOD. Doesn't that show the clear agenda of the mainstream media right there?
It absolutely does. I was struck by that question and that timing. So poorly done, so unprofessional. Whether you know the motive or not, and I think we kind of do, but just setting that aside, just how unprofessional and mediocre that was. It was very weak, I thought. And then the shift turned to the video. Well, the video's not legitimate or not real. And that has been disputed over and over. And this is backfiring again from the voices of people in South Africa speaking out and saying, no, this is absolutely happening. The president is right. And they sat in the Oval Office and lied, the folks from South Africa, but the media is aiding and abetting them in that process. So again, we have a saying around here, I'm sure you do there. I mean, Trump was right again. And so I don't know why they continue to, you would think they would change their playbook a little bit and do something different, but they keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And we know what that is.
We do know what that is. Insanity personified. But then if their ratings continue to drop off, which they are, whether it's online articles, whether it's people watching, people paying for cable or whatever it is, those ratings are dropping. Then the advertisers, like Verizon or others, they said, okay, no more DEI at Verizon. And then if they start seeing that all of the people that are the viewers, the consumers, aren't watching anymore, maybe advertisers will be pulling out from these legacy old media companies that have been lying to us for years. The truth is out now. They've been exposed as the corrupt people that they are. I mean, is this too extreme, Ike?
No, I mean, if you don't have ratings, you cannot have revenue. You have to have ratings in order to have revenue. So in other words, if people aren't watching, advertisers, they have a lot of options these days. And I spent a number of years in the advertising industry, and it is so fragmented. There's so many, options and whether or not you can track it or not and things like that. So now more than at any time, if you are going to offer advertising options, it has to deliver. It has to deliver the audience. It has to deliver clicks. It has to deliver reaction. And so when you see that people are soured on these things and these networks are continuing to go in that direction, it is only logical that advertising dollars will fall off and they will go to where people are engaged and where people are watching. And this is an example just in the news today of NPR. NPR is suing the Trump administration over taking away this funding. Well, we go back to that South African example, and NPR just last week said that Trump's claims were false, yet NPR wants to tout that they're getting their funding stripped over the First Amendment and free speech. It's not about free speech. It's about government-funded propaganda and subsidized from the taxpayers, and that just doesn't need to be happening. And so COVID, the 2024 election, all of those things I think have come together to awaken people that the media is not their friend and they're not telling the truth.
Exactly, and that is what everybody has become awakened to. And isn't it awesome to have the opportunities now in conservative media that weren't here many, many years ago? Rush Limbaugh, again, was that voice out there that everybody relied on. And then now, thanks to Rush and thanks to President Trump, back to our point from before, when President Trump called out the fake news time and time again, people started being like, wait a minute, yeah, that's right. Just because they have the fancy everything, and just because it's all polished and it looks good and sounds good, doesn't mean they're telling you the truth, Ike.
That's right. And sometimes the more polished it is, the more dishonest it is. And so, Rush had a way of absolutely cutting through the noise and showing people to think about it from a different perspective. I think, sort of critically thinking about it is a big part of what we try to do on my show is help people see, hey, here's what they're saying, but here's actually what's happening, and sort of recognize that, sort of the discernment, as it talks about in the Bible, that people need to have in order to see through lies and recognize what's true and what isn't.
100%, I agree with you there. Also, finally, big, beautiful bill. I mean, now it's to the Senate, and some are saying, like Rick Scott, we don't know if we have enough of the people to, pass this through. What would you say to senators out there right now about the big, beautiful bill and why it is important to get this thing passed?
Well, we have to get it passed from a tax cut standpoint. We have to. Otherwise, taxes go up. And so are you going to defend, fighting for higher taxes? That's not going to work. Democrats are going to have a huge problem defending that. Here's what I do like, Matthew, is I am okay with arguing over whether or not there's enough cuts in a spending bill. So I think it's healthy to have that conversation. As Stephen Miller has pointed out, we have some options on mandatory spending versus discretionary, and whether or not this bill is not able to go toward discretionary spending, which is what Doge is all about anyway. And even Elon Musk, I think, is a little bit off on this because he's saying, he tried his best. Well, this is not a discretionary spending bill. And so you look at the cuts over 10 years, up, $2 trillion. And then the Democrats want to talk about Medicaid and SNAP and how terrible this is. That is a lie. Medicaid and SNAP, we're talking about elevating the requirements to work. There is nothing wrong with work. It actually allows you to have dignity, as something we should be supporting and encouraging, not diminishing and saying, well, you can't do that without the government's help. No, you can. You are able. This is America. If you work hard, you will achieve success. It doesn't mean everybody's at the same level of success, but if you work hard, you will be able to achieve. And that is what the American dream is. And we have so long, at least from the left, diminished that, saying, no. Especially when it comes to minorities, the soft bigotry of low expectations. No, you can't do that without the government's help. That is a lie from hell, if I can say that, and that is just not true. And so in this bill, we have cuts based on better requirements for people who are able-bodied and young enough to work. They need to work. And this is actually what's better psychologically, mentally, emotionally, and what's better economically. And so even though they're arguing about some of the cuts, I'm okay with a healthy debate on cutting more. But at some point soon, and this is what I hear again and again, what the heck is Congress doing? Let's go. They have to get this thing done, and they have to do it by July 4th. I would love for that to happen sooner than that, but they can't waste a whole lot of time. They need to get on it.
They do. They do. Ike Wingate of the Ike Wingate Show. Thanks for your insight. Thanks for being on the right side of history and conservative media, man. This is great to see, and we hope to see more of this happening throughout as we cover President Trump and then into the future post-President Trump. Ike, thank you again for joining us.
Pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
All right, bottom of the hour, 10:30, Wednesday, May 28th. Here on RSBN Live, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for streaming in as we started our conversation there about cryptocurrency, about Bitcoin. Of course, we'll be heading out to Vegas for the speech by JD Vance, the vice president. President Trump spoke at the Bitcoin conference just last year in Nashville. Well, this year it's in Vegas, and Vice President Vance is there. Don Jr. is there. Eric Trump, along with a number of other great people that are really just looking into this next level of finance when it comes to cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. At 11:15 this morning, we will have Les Borsai. He's the government crypto advisor and a co-founder of Wave Digital Assets. He'll join us to really break down some of the numbers and what it's all about when it comes to cryptocurrency. Also, we have an article on RSBN, the Truth Social page, and X, and on our website about a new deal when it comes to cryptocurrency with Trump Media. And then also we'll look into the executive order about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin as well from President Trump that happened in March. All of this brought to you by a number of great sponsors, including Brightcore. So mybrightcore.com is the place to go, /RSBN, because you'll save 25% off of Kimchi One, this great product all about gut health, probiotics to really help the health out when it comes to your gut, immune support, anti-aging properties. It's the opposite of antibiotics, it's probiotics, right? So call 888-722-0936. You could receive up to 50% off if you call, and then 25% off if you go online there. Again, probiotics, really good for gut health, immune support, anti-aging properties. Kimchi One, made in the United States, and the owner, Kim Bright, we just interviewed her just the other day, and you can catch those interviews on Rumble and other social platforms when we post them. So glad to interview her, but also this great product there. So really all you have to do is call 888-722-0936 or go to mybrightcore.com/RSBN. All right, let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, mypillow.com. If you're getting ready for the beach this summer, that's a great, great site to go to. 50% off a beach sail there. Use that RSBN promo code, mypillow.com/RSBN. The great Mike Lindell, the great company, and always great to support people that are doing wonderful things for our nation in Mike Lindell and MyPillow, of course. Some of the best ads out there with Mike Lindell. mypillow.com/RSBN. All right, so it's 10:35 this morning, Wednesday, May 28th. We're going to dive back into more of the Bitcoin aspect of the broadcast. We have a great live interview coming up at 11:15. Before we do that, the White House just posted a video, shifting gears here, about ICE and about a recent arrest from a number of illegal immigrants that were, I'm not sure at this point if there was any criminality involved with the immigrants or not, but still, this is the video that the White House just posted.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Down, hey, down. Down, get down. That's fine. Hands. No, hey, cállate los
Okay, so the specifics there from the White House and from Homeland Security, who reposted this article or this video just an hour ago from the White House. It says 1 ICE tip, 5 aliens down. Got a tip? Call ICE now, 866-DHS-2-ICE, 866-347-2423. That's what's on the White House X page. An hour ago, the post about that takedown of 5 illegal aliens. So that is quite telling video of what's happening out there in some parts of our country with ICE. And then if you look at the southern border with the military, people are just not crossing the southern border. One, because the border wall is getting finished and the wall's just too big to climb over. You can't climb over that wall. And two, of course, when you have the Army, the Marines, the National Guard, Customs Border Protection, out on the seas, the Coast Guard and the Navy doing the job that they're doing to prevent anybody from coming into this country, but also intercepting out there in the open sea a number of boats that have illegal aliens or criminal illegal aliens and also narcotics on those boats. So a lot being done. And even in the air, there are drones that are being flown over by the drug cartel to monitor movements along the border, but also to in some cases, drop various either equipment or drugs. So our government is also using drones to check out what's going on. I mean, it's just the whole thing down there. And they're a terrorist organization. This is what President Trump has called them, and this is what we the people believe them to be, especially the fact that they're making money off of, I don't want to put it this way, but it's facts, death, especially when fentanyl's put into the drugs that is a precursor from China all the way through. So yeah, President Trump and the team obviously working on that. As we are monitoring any other live information right now, it's 10:38 Eastern Time, and Matthew Alvarez will be right back here on RSBN Live.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin, all the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense, and they make it easy to get hard-to-find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple. Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it's had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now, I suggest you try Immuno 150 to see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now, consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. It's 10:40, Wednesday, May 28th. Monitoring any live developments, whether it's at the White House or any other breaking news out there as we get ready to head all the way to Nevada. Those of you already on the West Coast, the Mountain Time Zone, RSBN is coming your way because we are going to see the Vice President speak at the largest Bitcoin event on planet Earth. It's happening in Vegas. President Trump spoke at the Nashville one in 2024. This time the Vice President there, but also Don Jr., Eric Trump, and many others involved in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So we'll hear that speech from the Vice President at about 12 Eastern Time. At 11:15 Eastern Time, we will be joined by Les Borsai. He's a government crypto advisor, co-founder of Wave Digital Assets. We also have a few other requests out there for some crypto interviews, and if they come to pass, we'll bring that to you as well. As we started at 10 this morning on the way to the 12 o'clock time for the speech by the Vice President. Also, a bit later today, at 2 o'clock, the President of the United States at the White House will be signing some executive orders. Prior to that, at 12 o'clock, he'll participate in a swearing-in ceremony for the interim U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. So that is happening today. So those two events, if we're live here, will most likely be with the Vice President. However, we'll be able to replay any of the videos that we get. And in many cases, they are sometimes not even live anyway, so we'll replay what we get here. You can always count on us to, whether it's live or replay, and the replay is pretty soon after. That's why you'll see previously recorded or moments ago in the top corner. We always want to keep you up to date on that. A little bit of inside baseball, a little bit of transparency here, because I think that's what we, the people and viewers, want these days. You want really the transparency of media, because they have failed over the decades, and they grew into something so corrupt that President Trump came out and started calling them a name. Fake news back in 2015. Prior to that, Rush Limbaugh doing an awesome job, man. What a great broadcaster Rush was. So looking forward to conservative media continuing to grow, especially right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, as we get ready to cover the huge rally on Friday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. President Trump to speak there in Pittsburgh for a rally. So we are going to have live coverage from Pittsburgh. Our cameras will be there. RSBN host Megan Kohler will be there, and we'll have some coverage here in the studio that day as well. So that's Friday. It's going to be throughout the day, most likely many hours. And on top of that, one thing that's always great that we do here at Right Side, we love to interview all of you, we the people. So people that are waiting outside for this U.S. Steel event, this huge rally for President Trump, we'll be able to hear from we the people. We'll hear from the leader of we the people, who is also part of the country, of course, President Trump. We'll hear him speak there in Pittsburgh. So quite the broadcast coming up on Friday. Speaking of what is coming up, June 14th, of course, Flag Day, President Trump's birthday, but also the 250th celebration for the United States Army, that huge parade and celebration. We'll have live coverage of that. That'll be Saturday, June 14th. Then in Canada, the president will be traveling there for the G7 on June 15th to the 17th. So that's the G7 in Canada. So we will be monitoring and tracking the movements and covering all of the America First stories right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, as we of course get that public schedule for the president, and we always are on top of it when we have availability to bring that to you, which is pretty much 24/7. If we're not live right here at the channel, we always have, of course, Truth Social and X and Getter and our website and our app that you can monitor America First News with some of our great writers that have been reposted and retruthed by the leader of the free world, President Donald Trump. So looking forward to all of that coverage coming up. So let's switch gears back to today's coverage when it comes to what it's all about. The Vice President to speak at the world's largest Bitcoin event. There are 30,000 Bitcoiners there. 5,000 companies are attending. This is the largest Bitcoin event on planet Earth. So this is quite the event there. Don Jr., Eric Trump, the Vice President, all speaking. We'll definitely see the Vice President speak. He's slated for 12 Eastern. We will have a live interview with some experts in the crypto industry coming up at 11:15, as it's 10:45 right now. Again, President Trump spoke at the Nashville Bitcoin conference just last year. We did play a soundbite from President Trump earlier in the broadcast. So if you want to check that out, you can always come back and scrub over to where we're live here, or just if you're watching on replay, thank you so much for doing so. All right, so let's look into the article that we have posted on Right Side Broadcasting Network when it comes to cryptocurrency. And this just happened just a few hours ago, actually about an hour ago. Trump Media has actually announced a $2.5 billion Bitcoin treasury deal. So the Trump Media and Technology Group Corporation, the parent company of platforms including, of course, Truth Social, the streaming service Truth Plus, and the financial technology branch of Truth.fi has announced it is raising roughly $2.5 billion through a private placement deal involving around 50 institutional investors. Under the terms of the agreement, the company will issue around $1.5 billion in common stock and an additional $1 billion in convertible senior secured notes carrying a 0% interest rate. So the transaction is expected to close on or about May 29th, pending the usual closing conditions. The funds will primarily support the formation of a Bitcoin treasury, positioning Trump Media among the few publicly traded companies to make such a large-scale investment in cryptocurrency. The move also concludes the company's previously disclosed special acquisition fund. Executives say the capital will support future growth initiatives, including mergers, acquisitions, and expanding its presence in what it describes as the America First economy. The Trump Media CEO and chairman Devin Nunes called the move a major milestone, stating, quote, "We view Bitcoin as an apex instrument of financial freedom, and now Trump Media will hold cryptocurrency as a crucial part of our assets. Our first acquisition of a crown jewel asset. This investment will help defend our company against harassment and discrimination by financial institutions, which plague many Americans and U.S. firms, and will create synergies for subscription payments, a utility token, and other planned transactions across Truth Social and Truth Social Plus, or Truth Plus." I'm going to continue on the article here in just a second. This is from our article on RSBN. I'm reading it from Truth Social right now. And again, the Vice President will be speaking at the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth in Vegas coming up in just about an hour and 10 minutes or so. We'll have that live for you. And then we'll also be interviewing a crypto expert at 11:15 a.m. Also, we're monitoring any other news that's happening, especially within the White House. We know that the president will be signing executive orders at 2 p.m. today. He'll also participate in a swearing-in ceremony for an interim United States attorney in D.C. there. That'll be at the Oval Office. So as we get those video feeds, we can always upload them or share it live if we're live right here on the channel. All of it brought to you by a number of great sponsors, and we'll get back into the Bitcoin segment here in just a second. All Family Pharmacy is the great website right there, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. The code is RSBN20 if you want to save 20% on whether it's one order. Say you want ivermectin or amoxicillin, you get 20% off. But if you want to get 6 or 7 different medications, or if you want to order in bulk, 20% off your order. That's a sizable amount right there, as we see President Trump signing the lower prescription drug prices just recently. And while that system is getting into place, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN already slashed their prices down there. You can get a kit on a number of the medications, a travel kit, a first aid kit, and all of that. So allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN is the website. Can you repeat, producer? Colonial Metals, great. Awesome. Let's go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. You see the QR code right there on your screen. All you have to do is get a free info kit by going to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. You can protect your IRA or 401k with gold, 100% tax-free. Of course, this is a great thing to do when it comes to maybe your retirement or your savings, shifting it over to gold and silver. All the information you need is in that info kit as well. All you have to do is go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. All right, let's continue on with the article on RSBN on our Truth Social page about this news about Trump Media. Devin Nunes said this is a big step forward in the company's plans to evolve into a holding company by acquiring additional profit-generating crown jewel assets consistent with America First principles. The offering includes Trump Media stock priced at its last closing market value and convertible notes with a conversion rate set at a 35% premium. Now, following the deal, Bitcoin will be added to the company's balance sheet, which already includes $759 million in cash, equivalents, and short-term holdings reported at the close of the first quarter of 2025. We're told that Bitcoin traded at over $108,000 on Wednesday. today, following a record price of $112,000 on May 22nd. That article written by Dylan Burrows, of course, with Right Side Broadcasting Network. The president also in March signed an executive order saying that Bitcoin is the original cryptocurrency. The Bitcoin protocol permanently caps the total supply of BTC, Bitcoin, at 21 million coins and has never been hacked as a result of its scarcity and security. Bitcoin is often referred to as digital gold. So a lot of details there about Bitcoin. Of course, at 11:15, we'll have more from a crypto expert that will join us. And this is on the way to the Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas with Vice President JD Vance. In the meantime, we're slowly approaching the top of the hour. I'm Matthew Alvarez here on RSBN Live. Let's take a commercial break. We'll be right back.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin, all the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense and they make it easy to get hard to find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple. Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it's had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now, I suggest you try Immuno 150 to see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now, consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12 packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. Nice foggy and cloudy and rainy there in Washington, D.C., but still it's great to have a leader of the free world that will be signing some executive orders a bit later today. We'll bring you that as we get it here on Right Side, whether it's live here on the channel or when we upload it on our various platforms, depending on our live coverage. Now, also, speaking of live coverage, Rally Day in America, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. RSBN host Megan Kohler will be there in Pittsburgh on Friday to cover that event. Our camera crews as well will be there. So looking forward to that rally. That's Friday. But today, of course, the Vice President will be speaking at the Bitcoin event. Before we go into more Bitcoin commentary, we'll have an 11:15 crypto expert that will join us and break things down for us. In the meantime, about 45 minutes ago, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, posted the following. For too long, Americans have been fined, harassed, and even charged by foreign authorities for exercising their free speech rights. Today, I am announcing a new visa restriction policy that will apply to foreign officials and persons who are complicit in censoring Americans. Free speech is essential to the American way of life, a birthright over which foreign governments have no authority. That from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, 45 minutes ago, reposted by the Department of State. So I'm going to read it one more time. For too long, Americans have been fined, harassed, and even charged by foreign authorities for exercising their free speech rights. Today, I'm announcing a new visa restriction policy that will apply to foreign officials and persons who are complicit in censoring Americans. Free speech is essential to the American way of life, a birthright over which foreign governments have no authority. So great news to see that from the Secretary of State 46 minutes ago on X. As of right now, monitoring other stories that are happening. No national breaking news at this point, so we can move on with some of our coverage as it's, again, rainy in Washington, D.C., but hopefully we'll get some sunny skies there this week. It will definitely be hopefully sunny in Pittsburgh as well on Friday for that huge rally day in America. We'll have our crews there for it, and we look forward to hearing from we the people in Western Pennsylvania. Of course, the number of people there that voted for President Trump, so many so that the entire state went red for President Trump. It also went red for him in 2020, if you know what I mean. We also know he won it in 2015-16 and was, or 2016. So looking forward to going back to the Keystone State coming up here on Friday. In the meantime, let's get back to Bitcoin. It's the top of the hour in just about a minute. The Vice President, JD Vance, will be speaking inside the event space there in Las Vegas. So we're going to have that for you, and we're going to hear from the Vice President. He speaks in about an hour from now. We also know that Don Jr. and Eric Trump and many other CEOs, founders, magazine writers, online publications are all there for this world's largest Bitcoin event, specifically 30,000 Bitcoiners there. 5,000 companies are attending. And the keynote address by the Vice President of the United States, JD Vance. We did air a portion of President Trump's speech at last year's Bitcoin conference earlier in this broadcast. If you want to see that, you can always scrub back a little bit. And we can also get ready to hear from a live expert coming up at 11:15. So this is the conference building where everything will be held for this Bitcoin conference. Looking forward to seeing that. Les Borsai, he is the government crypto advisor and a co-founder of Wave Digital Assets. He'll join us at 11:15 this morning, so in about 15 minutes. As for Washington, D.C., a few miles east of Vegas, of course, 12 o'clock, the president will participate in a swearing-in ceremony for the interim U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. We'll be recording that. And then also at 2 o'clock, the president will sign executive orders. Depending on how the feed comes into us here, it goes the same way for all the networks. So if it's live, we'll take it live. And if it's recorded, we'll still be able to replay that or at least upload it to our various social platforms, including the great Rumble, the free speech site itself, Rumble, of course. So thanks so much for watching on that great site, and thanks so much for watching overall wherever you're watching right now on Right Side Broadcasting Network. As we gear up for this huge week ahead, and including Friday with the president in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for the huge rally. So we'll be covering that at U.S. Steel. It's specifically in West Mifflin, which is southeast of the Steel City, Pittsburgh. So we'll be there for that. June 14th, I think by now we know what's going on that day, but if you don't, it's the huge Army celebration for 250 years of existence, 1775 to 2025. And then on June 15th through the 17th, so June 15th is Father's Day. President Trump will be in Canada between the 15th and 17th. Haven't received logistics yet on which day, but he'll be in Canada for the G7, June 15th through the 17th. So we'll have all of that live coverage right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All of this brought to you by angelpaste.com. If you go to angelpaste.com, a number of products are there, and you can use the RSBN promo code, which will give you a percentage off. Always good to save some money, always good to use the RSBN promo code no matter what. And it's nice to have a good company there in Spring, Texas that hires military veterans and produces some great products that you guys can see right there. That's the Miracle Cream. Of course, you can go on angelpaste.com and check out some of the other products as well. All right, it's 11:02, top of the hour, Wednesday, May 28th. All right, let's look at some of the Truth Social posts from President Trump, some of the most recent Truth Social posts. I actually want to go to Cat Turd real quick. Last time I said something about Cat Turd on the air, he posted something on X and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm famous," you know. So, but anyway, the reason why I'm referring to Cat Turd right now is because he's talking about Marco Rubio, the statement that I just read. Marco Rubio says he will deny visas for foreign officials and individuals who are complicit in censoring Americans. He also has a couple of things to say there. You might want to check it out after that. But that's from Cat Turd there. Now, President Trump, speaking about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, calling them great mortgage agencies, provide a vital service to our nation by helping hardworking Americans reach the American dream, home ownership. So President Trump says, I am working on taking these amazing companies public, but I want to be clear, the U.S. government will keep its implicit guarantees, and I will stay strong in my position on overseeing them as president. These agencies are now doing very well and will help us to make America great again. President Trump also 17 hours ago saying this on Truth Social, as you're looking live there in Vegas, getting ready to see the vice president speak. Other than the rigged presidential election of 2020, the biggest scandal in American history is the auto pen. Whoever used it was usurping the power of the presidency, and it should be very easy to find out who that person or persons is. They did things that a Joe Biden of sound mind would have never done, like open borders, transgender for everyone, men and women's sports, and far more. Fear not, however, we will bring America back bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Really looking forward to that speech on Friday in Pittsburgh. A rally day in America, right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It'll be great to hear from the president. And also, you remember all those chants that we heard over the years in various campaign rallies or speeches, just the USA chant, the We Love You chant, Build the Wall, which is already being built and will be finalized under the big, beautiful bill. And the senators need to understand something that we the people, a majority of we the people, say we want this big, beautiful bill to be passed. When you look at dollars and cents and you look at $30,000 and you look all the way up to $80,000, if the big, beautiful bill passes, there's a 15% tax cut to those making $30,000 to $80,000. So 15% less in taxes coming out of your hard-earned money through this big, beautiful bill. And there are so many other great things and accomplishments that will happen out of this bill. There are, in fact, at least 20 that are the reasons why it's really good to pass this bill. And we're going to get into that here in just a second, as we will be interviewing a crypto Bitcoin expert here in just about 10 minutes on RSBN Live. But I do want to get to the big, beautiful bill, the 20 reasons why The Senate must unite behind this bill. It delivers the largest tax cut in American history. So that means an extra $5,000 in Americans' pockets with a double-digit % decrease to your tax bills. Americans earning, again, between $30,000 to $80,000 will pay around 15% less in taxes. That's just number 1 out of 20. Should we go through all of them? I don't know. We'll see. You know, we've done it a few times, but there's so many things that are great here. How about number 2? It includes no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. You know, it sounds good, right? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. But do we really understand those that get paid in overtime hours? No taxes will be taken out of that overtime. And usually it's time and a half, right? So all of the people out there, those of you that work in all sorts of industries, I told this story the other day, but driving by one of the auto plants in Alabama the other day, and it was a pretty late night coming back from a Memorial Day, weekend family visit. And I looked over and I saw all the vehicles of people that work at the auto plant parked there. And it was, I think it was like 11 or 12. It was like midnight. And I thought about all of the workers there. I mean, I mentioned this before. I've worked, overnight schedules. I've worked in various industries out there. And anyway, the point is the fact that there's no tax on the overtime through this big, beautiful bill. You think about all of the hardworking, everyday Americans that might not have a huge platform or a voice to speak, but they say, you know what, to their friends and family, I'm so glad we've got a commander-in-chief in President Trump that understands what we all are working for here in this country, what we all need in this country to be made great again. And that's why I think Friday is going to be huge, because it's Pittsburgh, the old U.S. Steel, city. Back in its heyday, that's why it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's why it's called the Steel City, right? So, but for President Trump to go right back there to West Mifflin, Pennsylvania, where U.S. Steel is headquartered, and the president to speak to the people of Western Pennsylvania. We'll have live coverage. It's those everyday Americans, it's all of us that are out there throughout every state that you are watching from right now that this is about. And that's what I love about President Trump. He won't forget about our country. He won't forget about our Constitution. He won't forget about our God as he continues to win, win, win. And we look forward to seeing justice be served in other areas as well for those that broke the law over the past 4 years. Maybe in a situation like AutoPen, where there's other people that were usurping the presidency, as we heard from Carolyn Levitt last night on Fox, and as we heard from President Trump on Truth Social. So anyway, let's shift over to Kalshi as we get ready for our live interview. Kalshi.com/RSBN. So if you're looking to bet or trade on really anything, any kind of question you come up with, I even saw in there, what's the weather in New York City going to be like today? 51 degrees or 68 degrees, whatever it was. This was a few weeks back. People actually are betting and trading on all sorts of stuff, whether it's the temperature of a city during one day, or whether it's big, science or technology or sports or history or politics, religion, whatever, really. So it's a great site to go do that. And also check out the app, the Kalshi app. So if you go to Kalshi.com/RSBN, that's the place to go for it. Great sponsor here at Right Side. Also, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, 20% off until the end of June. I have to lead with that because it's a sizable percentage off. And All Family Pharmacy did this because they heard, okay, well, President Trump is working on slashing prescription drug prices. You remember that executive order, that great announcement? Well, All Family Pharmacy kicked it into high gear, and there they are already doing it. And use that code, RSBN20. You're talking ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, amoxicillin, penicillin. So many different essential medications. There are more than 200, including antibiotics. So you have a lot of options there with allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can order in bulk. You can order kits, all sorts of first aid kits, travel kits, and the like. So the QR code's there. Also, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. All right, so we're going to get back to some more specifics on the big, beautiful bill, and then we will be interviewing a great crypto expert and Bitcoin expert coming up in about 5 minutes. Before we do all of that, let's take a commercial break. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks for streaming live with us right here on RSBN Live.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin, all the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense, and they make it easy to get hard to find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple. Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it's had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now, I suggest you try Immuno 150 to see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now, consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to RSBN Live, looking live in Las Vegas. I'm pretty sure it's reaching the 100-degree mark once again today. Not at this point, and not at this time of the morning, but definitely just a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago, it already reached that 3-digit mark of 100 degrees. But in the meantime, we know that the Vice President JD Vance will be speaking at the Bitcoin conference. This is the world's largest Bitcoin conference. Joining us now is Les Borsai. He's a government crypto advisor, co-founder of Wave Digital Assets. Les, thanks so much for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Matthew, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Definitely. Can you talk to us about just the fact that we had President Trump in Nashville just last year at the Bitcoin conference, this time the Vice President, and also Eric Trump, Don Jr., and others. Just how important is this kind of conference for those in cryptocurrency?
I think it's everything. I've been coming to these conferences since 2013, and the excitement, this administration driving innovation. I mean, you have Bo Hines here and David Sachs, and you have, the congressman who did the stablecoin bill. I mean, everyone is here, and it's a very different kind of event than we've seen in the past. We're a long way from crypto bros and Lambos.
Yeah, exactly. And so this conference that you're attending, what is the overall vibe from everyone? Are they saying, this is something that's really going to take off or already has? What's it really like there?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are recognizing that it already has taken off. When we start to see traditional finance really entering the space, we saw the announcement from the president, surrounding stable coins. And now, the equity DJT Media launch, where they're going to have a treasury of $2.5 billion in Bitcoin. I mean, these are pretty loud signals right now. Jamie Dimon, reversing his opinion on Bitcoin, which I thought I'd never see. So it's a very different time in cryptocurrencies today, and it's because of this administration.
Can you break down for us those that have no knowledge on Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, those that are watching now, maybe watching on replay? Can you give us, for lack of a better way to call it, you know how you go into the store and it says idiot's guide for this? Can you go ahead and just really break it down for us?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I learned how to understand it, so I fit right into that idiot's guide. It's kind of like any other asset class. You have to do your research. But when you think of digital currencies, or Bitcoin in particular, think of it as digital gold. A lot of people get hung up on how it was created, how it was obtained. And I think, really the thing you have to realize is it's an asset class that has a limited supply that will run out. And we're now seeing, the impact of the scarcity and this administration. We're at an all-time high of $110,000 of Bitcoin. I think, when I first discovered Bitcoin, it was about $600. It really if you think about it, it's almost like, you don't hear people saying, well, I bought that stock and I didn't see it. I couldn't, hold it. It's an investment class. And the thing about the other currencies is what they're connected to and what they can actually do. Some of them generate yield, some of them are for payments and cross-border payments to make banking more efficient. You can use these tokens and trade them 24 hours a day. These are all things that traditional banking has not allowed for. So it's innovation.
Can you talk to us about a strategic Bitcoin reserve? And the president, in March of this year, signing an executive order all about the specifics there, saying Bitcoin is the original cryptocurrency. The Bitcoin protocol permanently caps the total supply of Bitcoin at 21 million coins. What does all of that mean?
So, Bitcoin by 2040, there will only ever be 21 million coins. It's the way it was designed. And that's really different than things like a gold reserve. We don't know how much gold is out there. It's managed. So that's what he means by that. And the digital reserve is something I know a fair amount about. The federal government is looking for a budget neutral approach to acquiring Bitcoin, meaning they're not going to go spend a bunch of taxpayer money to acquire it. They're going to look for ways to actually create a reserve and hold it. David Sachs had mentioned, the U.S. Marshal Service had sold $370 million of Bitcoin. Well, today that value would have been $17 billion. And I think that's why they're talking about holding it. And a digital reserve is not unlike Fort Knox. But instead of gold, you're going to have digital gold.
That sounds pretty awesome. Can you talk to the people that are really at the beginning stages of interest of this, and they're going to listen to the vice president's speech later, and they know that President Trump is a proponent of all of this? How simple is it, can you break it down for me? How simple is it for me to get involved? I mean, what do I do? What's the first thing do I do? Just start Googling or DuckDuckGo and just type in cryptocurrency?
Well, it's funny. When I first started, I had those same thoughts. I just happened to start earlier than you did. I went to a lot of bulletin boards and read it, and it was hard to get cryptocurrency when I started. Today, they're making it easy. When we have trusted sites and exchanges like Coinbase, for instance, you can go to Coinbase, put your information in, buy it, and it's incredibly safe. It's the safest platform in the world. And the great thing about Bitcoin is you can buy any amount. If I wanted to go buy $1 of Bitcoin and watch it appreciate, I could go do it. It's as simple as going to E-Trade or any of these online trading platforms. So you don't really have to do a lot of research. And the good thing about Coinbase is, they have many tokens. I think my last count was at least 50, but it's probably a lot more today. I haven't actually counted how many they have. And again, if you go online, you can do the research. It's readily available. And it's the same research you would do if you were buying a stock or equity somehow.
So then if it appreciates, so say I buy one for, put $1 into it and it appreciates to X amount, do I get that money right away? Like, how does that work?
So with Coinbase, depending upon how long you've had the account, you can withdraw the funds. And, that's also the thing. You hear a lot about stable coins. People don't necessarily understand what they are. A stable coin is just a coin that's backed by a dollar, which just makes transactions faster because it is pegged. And that's why we see so much volume and the market cap on some of these stable coins being so large. You can just remove it. Your bank account is connected to these exchanges now. It's getting incredibly sophisticated. And if you want even safer exposure, that's what these ETFs are. These are traditional financial instruments that you can buy from BlackRock, or you could buy stock in MicroStrategy. There's a lot of ways, if you want to invest in the space now, that you can do it quite safely and the way you're used to.
And then outside of that, so are there Bitcoin cryptocurrency ATMs, also point of sale purchases at various wherever? I mean, is this all already out there?
Yeah, it is. And I would say, with Bitcoin in particular, there's a lot of talk. It's going to replace the dollar, and it's not going to do that. I mean, I don't really look at Bitcoin as a way to go into a store and replace the dollar when I'm buying something. I really do look at it more like digital gold as an investment category. And there are Bitcoin ATMs, so you can do that as well. But I would say, those are a little more risky. There are tried and true approaches. We have American companies and American exchanges. You have Gemini, you have a whole, you have eToro, you have Kraken. There's a lot of exchanges out there that are just electronic trading platforms that you put your information in, and they can be trusted at this point because they're backed by a lot of resource.
And if you're just joining us, this is Les Borsai, a government crypto advisor, co-founder of Wave Digital Assets. Les, thanks for spending the time with us. Before I let you go, I know that the Vice President will be speaking in about 40 minutes or so there in Vegas. What do you expect to hear from Vice President Vance today?
More optimism. There's a lot happening with this administration. As we just heard, the stable coin behind Trump Media is launching. There's going to be a $2.5 billion treasury that is going to, be created around that. And I think it's just going to be more optimism in the asset class. And I think the other thing that's really important to note is, the regulatory handcuffs have been lifted. We don't have an SEC that's just enforcing blindly to, kill innovation. What we care about is American companies and American innovation staying in this country. And that's not something that happened before this administration got here. It's a different day. And we can look at the prices being reflected, and all of it's coming from this administration.
It's great to see it. It's great to see President Trump there in Nashville at the Bitcoin conference last year, and now in Vegas for the Vice President. Also, Don Jr., Eric Trump, and the like. Sir, thank you so much, Les, for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, 11/22, Wednesday, May 28th, live there from Las Vegas as the Vice President will be speaking there in about 48 minutes from now. Let's go to Colonial Metals Group. In the meantime, Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/RSBN is the website. You'll get a free info kit on gold and silver as that backup plan for maybe your retirement or your savings, all 100% tax-free. All the information to protect your IRA or 401k with gold. You see the QR code there, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Let's also go to mypillow.com. If you want to save some money, you can do it with using the RSBN promo code for that 50% off the beach sale there. A lot of great beach items and gear. Hopefully many of you will be going to the Gulf of America this year, the Atlantic, the Pacific, wherever you're going to be enjoying your beach time. mypillow.com/RSBN. Great products right there. More than 2,000 products on mypillow.com. So a lot to choose from. All right, so it is 11/23, Wednesday, May 28th. We will have a new video from the deputy spokesperson at the State Department that was just posted just a few minutes ago, updating us about efforts about long-term prosperity for the American people and our allies. So we'll be playing that here shortly as you're looking live in Las Vegas, Nevada. I do want to double check the weather out there because I think it's pushing, I would guess at this point, 90 degrees. So let me just look real quick on the phone. Las Vegas, okay, 81 degrees and a high of 97 later today. Bright and sunny skies, actually a high of 98. So there you go. Now, if we look live, Director, maybe real quick at the White House in D.C., we know it's quite not the desert heat there, of course. It's cloudy, rainy, and probably a little cool there. But still, the President today signing executive orders at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll upload that video on Rumble and various platforms, but also if there is a live feed to it, we may be able to join you live right here on the channel. So all you have to do is, monitor all of the different notifications that you get, or if you just want to check it out on Truth Social or X or Rumble or YouTube or wherever you watch. Of course, we love the live streaming site Rumble, but you're able to see specifically the date and time of any new posts that happen. And sometimes, guys, maybe right now you only see this live video, and then you also will see the May 30th for the upcoming event for the huge rally. Well, as soon as we get various live events that happen, we upload it really quickly, and I'll show you a time. Sometimes that could be within an hour, depending on what's going on. So if you just really stay tuned to Right Side, we'll keep you up to date on all of the things that are going on when it comes to inside the Beltway at Washington, D.C., and outside the Beltway, specifically today as we take a live look back to Las Vegas, Nevada. Almost 100 degrees later today, and we'll be hearing from the Vice President JD Vance. Looking forward to that speech about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. It was nice to have some insight about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I'm not too knowledgeable about it, being transparent with you, because you have to be. It's better to do that than to be acting like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to Bitcoin. So it was great to ask him very simple questions about it, because I know it's not something that a lot of us have a lot of knowledge on, but we know it's of importance, as we saw President Trump in Nashville at the Bitcoin conference last year, and then Vice President JD Vance speaking here in just about 30 minutes or so. All right, so let's go to this video from the Secretary of State's office, so the Department of State. The Deputy Press Secretary just released a video, so let's take a look at it.
Hi, this is Tommy Pickett, Principal Deputy Spokesperson here at the State Department. Spokesperson Bruce just finished another briefing here in the briefing room, and really the main takeaway today after the brief was that President Trump, Secretary Rubio are looking for creative solutions to make sure that our children are not talking about the same conflicts that we're talking about now, that the conflicts that have lasted for years and years and years finally come to an end. It's about long-term prosperity for the American people and our allies. It's about a Syria that is at peace with itself and with its neighbors. It's about prosperity for the people of Gaza and for the people of Israel. It's about making sure that we have American leadership in the world and that the American people are safe.
And speaking of the Department of State, Marco Rubio just put out a statement that I'm going to share with you here about free speech. So I'm going to get that here in just a second. As he said about an hour ago, the Secretary of State, for too long, Americans have been fined, harassed, and even charged by foreign authorities for exercising their free speech rights. Secretary Rubio continues saying, today I'm announcing a new visa restriction policy that will apply to foreign officials and persons who are complicit in censoring Americans. Free speech is essential to the American way of life, a birthright over which foreign governments have no authority. That on X from the account, the government account for Secretary Marco Rubio. So that just happened about an hour ago here as well. It looks as if there is another post that just was sent out with the special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. There can be no compromise with anti-Semitism, the Secretary of State says. You can watch Secretary Rubio's recorded remarks at the Foreign Ministers Conference on combating anti-Semitism. We're going to send that over to our crew here so we can play that for you as well. As again, when we're live, we are live. There's no teleprompter making us go in a certain direction. We're just covering what's happening as it's a fluid situation, as they say. So bottom of the hour, 11:30 right now, and I'm going to send that over so we can play that video for you here as we await the Vice President, JD Vance, who will be speaking in Vegas. Now, the last time we heard the Vice President speak was on Monday, of course, Memorial Day, Arlington National Cemetery. That was one of the most powerful speeches I've ever heard from the Vice President. Very powerful speech alongside the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth's great speech, and of course, President Trump's very powerful speech on Monday. So now, of course, Wednesday, May 28th, we'll be seeing the Vice President here shortly. And then also that new video that was just posted by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, remarks that were played at the Foreign Ministers Conference on combating anti-Semitism. So that reminds me of the terrible tragedy that is still on the minds of a number of people. The two Israeli embassy staffers that were killed outside of the Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. just last week. You know, one of them, Yaron, is Lashinsky, a devout Christian, and then Sarah Milgram, a devout Jew, and they were about to be engaged in Jerusalem this week. And then we saw what happened there. So this is the kind of thing we're talking about when it comes to freedom of speech and freedom of religion. I mean, we're really protecting our great Constitution, our great Bill of Rights here in America. And we look forward to seeing more of the same when it comes to eradicating anything that is coming against us when it comes to things like Hamas. You know, you can't have people supporting Hamas on our land. That's just not going to happen. Secretary Rubio has said the visas would be revoked of a student that is pro-Hamas speaking outside of a university. you're not going to keep your visa here. Any country has an opportunity to pull or revoke a visa. And that's what Secretary Marco Rubio said a couple months back. So many different things to follow and monitor every day. So what you can count on here at Right Side, of course, is the news of the day when it comes to, like today in Vegas, with the Vice President JD Vance speaking at the crypto Bitcoin conference. Also a bit later today, the President in Washington will be signing executive orders at 2 o'clock, some executive orders that we'll learn more about a bit later. So we do cover the news of the day, but also we dive into other specifics, analysis, commentary, bring on live guests, as you guys have seen. And also we do this. We go right to videos that were just posted moments ago on X.
I want to begin by thanking Foreign Minister Saar for this kind invitation, and I regret that I cannot be with you all in person. Golda Meir once said, "It took Moses 40 years to find the only place in the Middle East with no oil. But Israel's wealth lay not under the ground, but in its people, the Jewish people, exiles, pilgrims, and dreamers from around the world who made the desert bloom into a high-tech superpower." Israel accomplished this miracle not by abandoning its history and identity, but by embracing them. Sadly, some of Israel's neighbors have failed to appreciate how following Israel's example could have brought prosperity to the region. Instead, they chose war. They decided to impoverish their people in a futile effort to destroy Israel. They succeeded in the former, while failing in the latter. Anti-Semitism is the world's oldest bigotry, and given that we are all here today, it is also the world's most futile. Egyptian pharaohs, Roman emperors, Persian shahs, and Middle Eastern despots have sought to destroy the nation of Israel. Adolf Hitler dreamed of a world without Jews, an idea he shares with Hamas. Today, these regimes and empires have crumbled into dust, but Israel stands, and the Jewish people prosper. I pray for the day when the entire world will recognize the futility of anti-Semitism, when leaders will abandon self-destructive hatred and forge a new future in partnership with Israel by building on the Abraham Accords. Under President Trump's leadership, there are signs that the future may be closer than we dared dream. But only if we can overcome the futile, persistent evil of anti-Semitism can we reach that future. Earlier this year, I stood beside Foreign Minister Saar at the Yad Vashem Memorial. I remembered the millions of Jews who were slaughtered and reflected on the meaning of the words, "never again." The importance of those words were brought home to every American last week when Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram were murdered in cold blood outside of the Capitol Jewish Museum here in Washington, D.C. Yaron was a Christian born in Germany who came to love the Jewish state. Sarah was from Kansas and loved Yaron. They dreamed of marrying in Jerusalem, and instead, they were cut down in cold blood by a monster who did not care about Yaron's faith or Sarah's background. We should never forget that as he was being arrested after killing 2 innocents who he believed were Jews, the murderer proudly screamed, "Free, free Palestine." Words that now serve as a battle cry for the death of Jews, the destruction of Israel, and the horrors we must never again allow. There can be no compromise with anti-Semitism. There can be no nuanced separation of hatred of Israel and hatred of the Jewish people. Those who call to boycott Israel are calling for the boycott of their Jewish neighbors and classmates. Those who call for violence against Israelis are calling for violence against Jews. Those who call for the destruction of Israel are calling for the destruction of the Jewish people. That is why, as we extend our prayers to Yaron and Sarah's loved ones, we must stand in solidarity with Israel. There can be no coexistence with evil. There can be no nuance to hatred. Under President Trump, the United States will stand with the Jewish people. We have implemented a vigorous new visa policy that will prevent foreign nationals from coming to the United States to foment hatred against our Jewish community. We are holding international organizations and nations accountable for rhetoric against Israel that resurfaces in the manifesto of monsters, like Yaron and Sarah's killer. But we do see an eventual light at the end of this long tunnel of suffering. one can imagine a Middle East in which the Abraham Accords eventually reign. So thank you for the opportunity to address you.
A lot of news coming out of the State Department today with Marco Rubio. So great to see him there speaking on behalf of Jewish people, not only in our country, but worldwide. And of course, not forgetting the memory of Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, who were killed outside of the Jewish Museum in D.C. just last week. All right, looking live in Las Vegas right now. We're going to get to this Bitcoin information in just a second. All of it brought to you by a number of great sponsors, including allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. So 20% off your entire order, whether you order one medication. Say you order ivermectin, you get 20% off. But if you want ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, amoxicillin, penicillin, all sorts of essential medications, antibiotics. There are also kits as well, the first aid kit, travel kits, and other kits. And you can get 20% off the entire order, or if you want to order in bulk. It's always good to have a place that will get you what you need instead of going through the whole, and I don't usually use the word rigmarole, but I just did. When it comes to, all right, you go to the doctor, you have to make an appointment, you got to pay out of pocket for that, then you got a prescription rewritten and all that stuff. Just go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, save 20%, use the RSBN promo code, and you can get those medications sent to you pretty quickly, in some cases overnight. So allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Also, Brightcore is a great company. mybrightcore.com/RSBN. You're talking Kimchi One here. It's a probiotic. Kimchi, a great probiotic for gut health, immune support, anti-aging properties. There's two ways to save money. One, you can go to the website, mybrightcore.com/RSBN. If you go through that channel, you have 25% you can save off of that product right there, Kimchi One. And then also if you call 888-722-0936, you can save up to 50% off. So it's great to ask some questions as well. So go ahead and give them a call, 888-722-0936. Two great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It is 11:38 on this Wednesday, May 28th, 2025, looking live at the Vice President's podium there. That's at the Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas, Nevada. This is the world's largest Bitcoin event. 30,000 Bitcoiners there, 5,000 attending companies. President Trump spoke last year at the Nashville Bitcoin conference. Here's a quick clip from just last year with President Trump.
It's about common sense. We want to bring common sense back in. This is all common sense that we're talking about today. And Bitcoin and crypto will skyrocket like never before, even beyond your expectations. And you are the people that are doing it. As we stop the war on crypto, we will immediately, and we'll do this very quickly, begin to build our economy, because when America is prospering, Bitcoin is soaring, and it'll go up with it. We had the greatest economy ever, and we will soon have it again.
All right, so that was from last year, the President of the United States. Actually, at that point, it was July, so he was the nominee for the Republican Party. And it's great to see when President Trump, even before being the 47th president, speaking as if we will win, and, speaking that positivity. And we saw what happened. Of course, winning in a landslide. And that's the same thing that happened in 2020. And then, of course, he won hugely in 2016. All right, so today, though, we're going to see the Vice President, JD Vance, who just was speaking on Monday at Arlington National Cemetery, as was President Trump and the Secretary of Defense there. So now the Vice President has traveled to Nevada, a great state there, the Silver State, who, of course, voted for President Trump, is a red state, along with pretty much every state in the union, except for a few. But hey, we're going to keep trying to win, right? Especially those midterms. But we have a lot of winning and a lot of things to get done from now until then. Back to today. So the Vice President will speak in about 20 minutes. Again, 30,000 Bitcoiners there, 5,000 attending companies. And we will see the Vice President speak there. We also know that Don Jr. is there, Eric Trump, and a number of other great people that are involved in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So this is the world's largest event happening today. and we will have it for you here as the Vice President will take the stage in just a bit from now. Speaking of prior to that, where you saw President Trump, he will be signing some executive orders at 2 o'clock from the Oval Office in Washington. No intel yet on what the EOs are about, so you can stay with us here on Right Side as we get a chance to watch that. We will upload it on Rumble and our social platforms, but some cases it will be a live feed. If it's a live feed, we'll see you right here at the channel, and we'll bring it to you live as we continue to see the president continuing on working for the American people. We've been live since 10 this morning, 10 Eastern, going on an hour and 41 minutes, and we're going to continue through and watch the Vice President speak there in Las Vegas. Coming up, President Trump on Friday, May 30th, a rally in Pittsburgh. It will be Rally Day in America. We have our RSBN host, Megan Kohler, will be there live in Pittsburgh. We have our crews as well. Our camera operators will be there. I'll be here in the studio. We'll have a little bit of coverage here too. So one of the main things that I always like to see at the rallies is, of course, President Trump's speech. Prior to that, the commentary by our correspondents on the ground. I've done that many times, and to be out there in the field is always fun, especially to interact with we the people. And that's the point, is to hear from the people of Pittsburgh and the region, even Eastern Ohio. I mean, it's not far from the Ohio line there. It's going to be in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania, Western PA, just south, a little southeast of Pittsburgh. But it's all at the U.S. Steel headquarters there, the Steel City, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was born in PA, over in Harrisburg area. So was my wife. So it's just great to see when the president goes back to where it all started, our country. Think about it, Philadelphia, Independence Hall, the Constitution, all right there. So we'll have that coverage throughout the day on Friday, and then the speech, I believe, is later in the afternoon, early evening. So we'll have all of that on Friday. So if you'd like to set that in your calendar, or if you just want to check it out, watch for a little bit, or watch the replay, whatever you'd like to do. Also today, of course, we have the Vice President speaking in just a bit. And then let's move forward to next month. So June 14th, we'll have live coverage where we're going to see from Washington, D.C., the great Army Parade celebration, the Grand Parade there. The President's birthday, of course, June 14th, Flag Day as well. A lot of patriotism happening on Saturday, June 14th, but really a lot of patriotism happening every day across this country. I just recently got back from a family visit, a trip, and went through a number of states, and to see the Trump Vance 2024 signs. I even saw in Virginia an old Trump Pence sign from back in the day, and it's been there for a while. I kind of wish the second name there was maybe just put a V and A-N-C-E instead of P-E-N-C-E. But anyway, but the American flags, and I was traveling back on Memorial Day, so it was just a very powerful day, because I was listening to, right here on Right Side, Robert McNeely was in studio, and I was listening to President Trump's speech, the Vice President JD Vance's speech, and the Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth's speech on Monday. And I was just thinking about Right Side Broadcasting Network and being outside of Alabama and knowing this is a national broadcast. It was just great to be able to be like, hey, where should I watch these speeches? Well, holy smokes, let's watch it on Right Side, and of course our network. So it was great to listen to those speeches. And again, driving on that highway, seeing the beautiful blue skies. Got a little rainy towards the end of the trip there back here in the southeast, but just seeing just God's beauty and America the Beautiful. I posted something on Truth Social about it. But with my AirPods, listening to Robert McNeely's commentary, and then listening to the leaders of our country, the President, Vice President, and Secretary of Defense speak so eloquently, but from the heart, for our fallen military service members, and to honor the families that were there, the Gold Star families and others, and just all of the people. Powerful speeches. We really can't, there's no words to describe just what that was like while I was listening to the president at that point. So, all right, it is. We also want to let you know, please, if you'd like to give some feedback to us here at the network, just go to feedback@rsbn.tv. If you're looking to share with us just a story about a rally you've been to or various things, I know we get a lot of accolades when we have these different emails, but feedback@rsbn.tv is the place to go if you'd like to just give us a shout out, say hello, and also maybe share with us some stories of what rallies you've been to and what you'd like to see here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, as we do cover pretty much everything that's going on there in Washington, D.C., whether it's the Secretary of State or the Secretary of Defense or, of course, President Trump or the Vice President here in Vegas speaking here in just a minute. So feedback@rsbn.tv. All right, so 11:46 this morning, Wednesday, May 28th. We're 14 minutes from the start of the Vice President's speech, as the Vice President's seal is now at the podium there. We'll be taking you there live in just a few minutes. All of it brought to you by a number of great sponsors, including angelpaste.com. You see the product right there on your screen. There's a number of other products when you go to angelpaste.com. Check it out. Use the RSBN promo code. Get a discount. Out of Spring, Texas, they hire military veterans. You're supporting a America First company and indirectly supporting us as well when you use the RSBN promo codes for all sorts of the sponsors that we have here. All patriotic, all on the right side of history. Always great to see that. Also, speaking of that, Kalshi.com/RSBN. So the QR code right there, if you want to use it, or just go to Kalshi.com or go to the app. You can check it out. I mean, science, technology, politics, whatever you want to talk about or bet or trade about, it's right there. Kalshi.com/RSBN, right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. 11:47 this morning, Wednesday, May 28th. Looking live there in Las Vegas. Producer, should we go to one more sponsor? Let's do allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. 20% off right there using the RSBN 20 code. Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, a lot of essential medications too. Within that framework, amoxicillin, penicillin, that kind of stuff. Well, you can get it. Go through the pay less for prescription medications right there. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. 20% off up until the end of next month. And the reason why All Family Pharmacy said, well, it's usually 10%, let's go 20%. They saw President Trump and what he did. He said, hey, we're going to slash these prescription drug prices, and All Family said, let's rock and roll and do the same. 20% off right there. Use that RSBN 20 code. Seriously, this is good stuff. Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. If you need it, it's there for you. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. All right, we are 12 minutes away from the Vice President of the United States. Again, what a great speech that he delivered on Monday at Arlington National Cemetery, along with the President and the Secretary of Defense, and we'll be looking forward to hearing him talk today about Bitcoin. This is the world's largest Bitcoin conference that we're about to see here when it comes to hearing from the Vice President. Eric Trump's in attendance, Don Jr.'s in attendance, and a number of CEOs and founders and everybody that absolutely loves cryptocurrency and Bitcoin are there. You're talking 30,000 Bitcoiners, 5,000 attending companies. And we see that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is growing by leaps and bounds. The president in March actually signed an executive order all about cryptocurrency, saying Bitcoin is the original cryptocurrency. The Bitcoin protocol permanently caps the total supply of Bitcoin at 21 million coins and has never been hacked. As a result of its scarcity and security, Bitcoin is often referred to as digital gold. And the president continued to say there, because there is a fixed supply of BTC, we'll stop there for a second. That might have been just a mic check there. There is a strategic advantage to being among the first nations to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So there's some details about that. You can also check that out on whitehouse.gov. So just wh.gov there, and you can see more about Bitcoin if you type that in the search bar. That's where I'm getting my information. Directly from the White House there. Speaking of the White House, a bit later today at 2 o'clock Eastern, President Trump will be signing some executive orders. So we will upload that to various social platforms, including Rumble. We may also take it live here, depending if the feed is live or recorded. That's just the way it works for the networks. We'll see what we get, but we definitely will show that to you. It'll be great to see the president sitting in the highest office in the land, the Oval Office, the leader of the free world, the commander-in-chief, He is we the people just like we are. He is an everyday American just like we are, because of the fact that he loves common sense, he loves the Constitution, he loves Old Glory, he loves American soil, he loves American prosperity, security, and on. So again, back to that Constitution, constitutional rights. That's what we are working for to preserve here in this country. So this obviously is an economic day, economic speech that we're going to hear with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency from the Vice President here shortly. So thank you guys so much for streaming in live wherever you're watching right now, whether it's on X or Truth Social or Getter or our website or app, but YouTube, and also a great site, as you know, Rumble. We have about 560 to 570,000 subscribers. That's starting to increase even more. So a great site to watch. Of course, the live free streaming app and website, Rumble. And of course, there are premium options there, it looks like, on Rumble. If you don't want all the ads, you can still pay. It just takes, obviously, money for us to be able to show you all of these live events. And those of you that would like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801. So simply text RSBN to 801-801 if you'd like to donate. Whether it's $1 or more, that's all good. Obviously, you get free coverage here with Right Side Broadcasting Network, but it definitely costs some dollars to provide you this live feed to Vegas, and then a bit later with the President at the Oval Office, and on as we continue to grow here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez, your host here, RSBN Live. Looking forward to seeing Robert McNeely back in the chair as well in the near future, and RSBN host Megan Kohler live in Pittsburgh on Friday for that huge rally. It'll be Rally Day in America. In the meantime, let's take a commercial break. When we come back, we're getting ready to hear from the Vice President, JD Vance.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin, all the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense, and they make it easy to get hard-to-find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple. Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it's had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now, I suggest you try Immuno 150 to see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now, consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez, looking on the right side of your screen there in Las Vegas for what will be a speech by Vice President JD Vance. We'll take it live as soon as we see any activity there at the podium as people are getting ready for that speech, which is in about 5 minutes from now. It's Wednesday, May 28th. Thanks again for streaming in live here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. President Trump posting 14 minutes ago, happy 101st birthday to the U.S. Border Patrol. Happy 101st birthday to the U.S. Border Patrol. Thank you, border agents, for what you do. I'm glad that the military's there, right there alongside you, and you're doing the jobs that you wanted to do when you signed up originally. Sorry that you had to work under Biden last go around, the fake president that didn't care about anything when it comes to our country. And on top of that, auto pen. So whoever was signing the auto pen, those people, we know that yesterday Carolyn Levitt on Fox was saying that that's one of the biggest scandals in American history, and President Trump talking about it as well. So who was using the auto pen? Anyway, back to it. Customs Border Protection, thank you for what you guys do. We are seeing from the DOD various videos of the military and you alongside each other along the southern border, keeping illegal aliens, including criminals, out of our country, also drugs when it comes to specifically fentanyl. And a shout out to you that go on the waterways as well, the sea, the open sea, with the Navy, with the Coast Guard. Customs Border Protection, they are celebrating their 101st birthday today. Happy birthday, U.S. Border Patrol. Thank you for what you do. 11:56 Eastern Time, about 4 minutes from now, the Vice President of the United States, JD Vance of Ohio, will be there and will be speaking about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and the like. This all brought to you by Colonial Metals Group. freegoldguide.com/RSBN is the website to go to. You get a free info kit on gold and silver. As you see there, you can protect your IRA or your 401k or both with gold, 100% tax-free. You see the QR code right there, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. A great site there to go to get all of that information that you need. And also you get that info kit in the mail. Freegoldguide.com/RSBN. All right, just a few minutes away from the speech in Las Vegas. 30,000 Bitcoiners there, 5,000 attending companies, a lot of people that absolutely love Bitcoin. But outside of that, we're seeing it grow. And we're seeing more people become interested in it. And we're going to hear more about it from the Vice President here shortly. Let's go one level up to the President of the United States. He will be signing executive orders at the White House at about 2 o'clock today. You can count on us for whether it's a live feed or replay. We'll upload it to our various social media platforms, or if it's a live feed that it's being pushed to the networks, we'll be able to be live right here on the channel for that with President Trump. So looking forward to seeing what the executive orders will be about. And that's a bit later today. You're talking 2 hours from now here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We also have an interview with Congressman Keith Self out of Texas coming up a bit later today. And also looking forward to more interviews here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we continue to grow and expand, cover rallies, and also cover America First news. Speaking of rallies, Friday is around the corner. We're talking 48 hours from now. Rally Day in America. President Trump traveling to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Steel City, to talk about U.S. steel and also to connect with we the people in Pittsburgh. So we'll have that coverage right here. Our RSBN host, Megan Kohler, will be there live. We'll have our camera crews there as well. And you've grown accustomed to watching all of that here on the network when it comes to seeing the actual crowds at various events. All right, so that is a feed or a pool camera that is there right now that we're getting live access to, that we, of course, subscribe to here at the network. So we're able to see the Vice President's speech in its entirety. Why don't we do this? Since it's about a minute away, let's go there live and just see what it's like to be there. Listen to the sights and sounds, or listen to the sounds and watch what's there. Let's go to Vegas right now. All right, so the audio not up there yet in Vegas, but you can see just a bigger screen there. All right, so it is about 12 o'clock coming up here on the East Coast. Right on the nose right there, 11 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. out there in the Pacific Time Zone, and of course 10 a.m. in the Mountain Time Zone. Beautiful area of the Mountain Time Zone, as you guys know. So anyway, looking forward to seeing the Vice President here. I'm going to double check if President Trump has posted anything fresh on Truth Social. He's talking about what they're saying about the one big beautiful bill. So there's a number of people talking about the big beautiful bill. President Trump posting that from the White House website, whitehouse.gov, 16 minutes ago. we talked about the big, beautiful bill earlier in the broadcast as we started at 10 this morning. We had Ike Wingate on, and we had a nice discussion about media, mainstream media, but then also conservative media, and the amount of people that are just really switching over to conservative media. But also we talked about the big, beautiful bill and the fact that anybody making $30,000 to $80,000 in this country will see a 15% tax decrease if this big, beautiful bill passes the Senate. So I guess it's time for you to do your due diligence and maybe call your senator and say, we want the big, beautiful bill to pass. Here's why. And if you need to do some research on the bill, great. But also, there's a lot of details about that bill out there on the whitehouse.gov site. We've also talked about it in great length here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, some of the specifics as to why it's important for this to pass, including more Customs Border Protection agents along the border. Do we have audio there yet, guys? We're going to go there live here as we get ready to see the Vice President JD Vance. We don't have audio there yet, but as soon as we see any activity or audio or the start of this event, we will take you there live in Las Vegas, where today it'll be a high of 98 degrees. A little bit cooler in DC. I saw the live picture there. Rainy and cold. I think cold. Let me double check here on my phone. It is 57 degrees and rainy. Ugh. Feels like 50 in DC right now, but that's all right. The winning still happens regardless of the storms we face. All right, so we're going to go to JD Vance here in just a minute. The president also, again, posting about the 101st birthday to the U.S. Border Patrol. Happy 101st birthday. The president also posting a number of posts in the past 24 hours talking about, other than the rigged presidential election of 2020, the biggest scandal in American history, the president says, is the auto pen. Whoever used it was usurping the power of the presidency, and it should be very easy to find out who that person or persons is. They did things that Joe Biden of sound mind would have never done, like open borders, transgender for everyone, men and women's sports, and far more. The president, Donald Trump, says, "Fear not, however, we will bring America back bigger, better, and stronger than ever before." All right, so we know that we have a number of great sponsors as we await the Vice President of the United States, JD Vance, to speak. So we'll be talking about some sponsors as well here in just a second as we get ready to see the second in charge, the Vice President in Las Vegas. Let's go to a number of great sponsors here. Producer, you can guide the way if you'd like. Let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. 20% off using the RSBN 20 promo code, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. Also, if you're looking for simple things like amoxicillin, penicillin, methylene blues, not so simple, but the point is you can get it at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. 20% off right there on your screen. We'll talk more about All Family Pharmacy in just a bit. mypillow.com/RSBN. 50% off for the beach sale. A lot of great products. If you're heading to maybe the Gulf of America or the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean this summer, why not go to mypillow.com/RSBN, buy a few things off of the website there. And indirectly, the money goes toward, of course, Mike Lindell and also Right Side Broadcasting Network. So you're paying into the conservative economy and you're getting a product that is really great too. So it is a win-win, especially if the big, beautiful bill passes. 15% less in taxes for those of us making $30,000 to $80,000. That's a lot of money. 15% would be great. Kalshi.com as well. Kalshi.com/RSBN. Science, technology, politics, religion, weather, whatever you're into, or maybe video gaming, whatever. Just go to Kalshi.com/RSBN or go download the app. You could bet and trade on so many different things. So you could trade on the most important events as well. Kalshi.com/RSBN. If you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, just text RSBN to 801-801. Just text RSBN to 801-801. Everything greatly appreciated, including funding various trips, like the trip coming up for our RSBN host, Megan Kohler, and also our camera crews for Friday when it's Rally Day in America, where President Trump will be speaking at a rally in Pittsburgh at the U.S. Steel plant in West Mifflin, just southeast of the Steel City. So thank you again for donating. Thank you again for supporting Right Side Broadcasting Network, supporting free speech. Also, supporting common sense reporting here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thank God for conservative media. Thank God for the great Rush Limbaugh of years past, and President Trump, who called out the fake news. And now we have an opportunity to keep freedom at the forefront in conservative media, not the BS from the left wing and the mainstream media. And we see even people on the left wing, Democrats, that have changed and said, you know what, I'm not going to buy into those lies anymore. They were awoken to what's happening in our country, and that's happening every day. And it really happened a lot over the past several months. Remember 2024's election, an absolute epic landslide for President Trump and Vice President JD Vance. So standing by for the Vice President there. This is a Bitcoin conference. This is the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth, and it's there in Vegas. It's there live, and we'll hear from the Vice President here shortly. President Trump spoke at the most recent Bitcoin conference in Nashville just last year. We played a couple clips of that earlier in the broadcast. A little later today, programming note, at 2 o'clock Eastern, President Trump will sign some executive orders from the Oval Office. So we'll see what those are, those EOs, and look forward to seeing that. Also, we should also go and play an interview that we had from earlier. Les Borsai was with us. He is one of the crypto experts that spoke with us about 11:15 this morning. So as we await the Vice President, we may be able to play this interview back for you because it's all about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So we'll go to that as we get it ready. That depends all and hinges all on when the Vice President takes the stage there. So as soon as he takes the stage, we will go there live. In the meantime, looks like they're just getting some things prepped. So it should be only a few minutes from now. Again, thank you for tuning in and watching live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So glad that you're with us. So glad we're on the right side of history together. And it'll be awesome to see we the people on Friday outside of the venue in Pittsburgh for Rally Day in America. A lot of wins going on. President Trump is approaching the 130-day mark as the President of the United States, the 47th Commander-in-Chief. A lot more winning to be done, a lot of great things to happen yet as we have more than 3 years, almost 4 years really, still to go for the President. On June 14th, Saturday, June 14th, you can catch our live coverage of the Army Parade, the Grand Parade and Celebration. We'll have live coverage right here on the network. So we will air that live on Saturday, June 14th. In the meantime, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side for a live speech from JD Vance.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Those of you sticking with us since 10 this morning, thanks so much for watching Right Side Broadcasting Network. Interviewed some great people, Ike Wingate of the Ike Wingate Show, also Les Borsai, a Bitcoin expert. So we will replay that interview here in just a second, if need be, as we stand by and await the Vice President JD Vance to speak at the world's largest Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas. Of course, that will be happening any moment from now. Also later today, 2 o'clock, President Trump will be signing executive orders from the Oval Office of the White House. There's some other news going on as well. We're monitoring a number of things, including Secretary Duffy just putting out a video moments ago, along with the Secretary of Defense and Secretary Doug Collins of the Department of Veteran Affairs, talking about a new agreement to improve the transition process for separating service members and increase collaboration between our departments. A video just posted about 7 minutes ago. The White House also reposting that. Sometimes it's on the fly here and a live fluid situation, just monitoring all of the different news that's happening here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we await the Vice President there. So we have two options to go to in the meantime. As soon as we see the Vice President, we'll go there live. In the meantime, we have the two options are the interview that I did with Les Borsai moments ago, and I'm hearing that this may be the start of the event. That looked like a mic check, but maybe not. Let's go to Vegas and see what's going on.
Holy cow. So, you know, what's cool about this conference is that it's all about making history. So, you know, we're making history because this is the biggest Bitcoin conference we've ever done. We're expecting 35,000 people to be here today. We're making history because this is the first Bitcoin conference to ever happen over $100,000 Bitcoin prices. You know, a year ago in Nashville, we made history when we had candidate Donald J. Trump come and address this crowd. He made us some promises. He promised to end the war on crypto. He promised to free Ross Ulbricht. He promised to never sell our Bitcoin. He promised a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And he promised to make America the Bitcoin superpower of the world. In 100 days, promises made, promises kept. And today we're going to make a little bit of history this morning by having the first ever sitting Vice President of the United States of America address the global Bitcoin community. Are you ready? With that, join me in welcoming the Vice President of the United States of America, JD Vance.
Thank you all. Well, first of all, I want to please, thank you guys. Take your seats. And, you know, the Secret Service is a little bit nervous because I told them these Bitcoin guys really like guns. But they really like the President and Vice President of the United States, too, so I think we're doing okay. So I first have to thank David Bailey, grateful for everything that you've done for the Bitcoin community. Thanks in particular for what you did for me and the president, helping us get from candidacy to the White House, because we've done, I think, a lot of good in the past 120 days, and I don't think we could have done it without David's support. I want to also thank the Winklevoss brothers, Tyler and Cameron. These guys are out here somewhere. Who, I got to say, Tyler and Cameron, I think really helped break the dam in Silicon Valley, because if you remember, you go back to June or July of last year, it feels like forever ago. It's not even a year ago, where Silicon Valley, people would whisper in private that they were going to support Donald Trump for president. They would talk about the fact the Democrats had gone too crazy. We had to get Gary Gensler the hell out of there, but they weren't quite willing to say, at least not publicly, that they were going to take the big step and support Donald J. Trump. And Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, I think they were some of the first big names in Silicon Valley to take that step, and a whole host of people followed them. So Cameron and Tyler, thank you for that. And of course, I want to thank the good people at Coinbase, the organizers of this event, and everybody who made this incredible event possible. It's great to be here with Bitcoin at 108,000, at least when I checked this morning, and as Vice President of the United States. It's great to be here. Now, you guys know I get to meet a lot of exciting people in my job, but it's been quite a while since I've been to a conference with this level of energy. I mean, hell, you guys came out here at 9 a.m. after a long night, I'm sure, in Las Vegas. You can't do that without a lot of good energy. But I promise I'm not just saying that to juice my own meme coins. But I think it's wrong, actually, to call this just a conference. This isn't a conference of people. This is a movement, and I'm proud to stand with you here today. And I think this conference, this movement of people, is where the future of cryptocurrency in this great country gets decided. So let's start by making one thing abundantly clear. That future is going to be decided by the people, by you, not by unelected bureaucrats. Now, as you all probably know, you've got a star-studded lineup here today, including several of my colleagues in the Trump administration. David, Bo, Hester, I know you're all out there. It's great to be among so many friends and allies. So, I want to speak for just a few minutes about a few things, and I want to talk a little bit about what we've done in the Trump administration. I want to give you a rundown of what this administration is doing on digital assets policy. But I also want to talk about some of the principles that help guide us as we develop this policy. But before that, I want to speak about why I'm personally optimistic about crypto and what it means for the American people. Now, people ask me why I tend to be bullish on the future of innovation in this country. Now, I spent enough time in Silicon Valley to recognize the difference between good tech, technology that boosts our productivity, makes our lives richer, that grounds us in the real world and complements our day-to-day lives. That's the good technology, but there's also some bad technology out there. And when it comes to crypto, I think the last several years have made it clear that we're talking about genuine, ground-up innovation, one that's already improving the well-being of tens of millions of our fellow citizens. I believe it's 50 million Americans own Bitcoin, and I believe that's going to be 100 million before too long. But it's not just about Bitcoin and about the value that's been generated, the wealth that's been generated by so many millions of our fellow citizens. Through decentralized finance, crypto has transformed how Americans transact with one another. It's expanded access to banking for many who may not otherwise have had it. And every single day, I feel like I see some groundbreaking new use of blockchain tech, whether it's in supply chain management, whether it's in hospitals, or whether it's in changing how we track and store patients' private health records. But for each of these new forward-looking applications, I also feel like there's an incredibly conservative element to crypto technology, and that's as a hedge. Crypto is a hedge against bad policymaking from Washington, no matter what party is in control. It's a hedge against skyrocketing inflation, which has eroded the real savings rate of Americans over the last 4 years. And as you all know well, it's a hedge against a private sector that's increasingly willing to discriminate against consumers on the basis of their basic beliefs, including their politics. That includes, of course, debanking users for Second Amendment advocacy or for ties to the first Trump administration. In Canada, the government did the same to kill those big truck driver protests in 2022. Less than a week later, they succeeded. The protests were over. But maybe most importantly, I see crypto as a hedge against one of the most dangerous trends in the digital era in both the public and private sectors. And that's of elites who, rather than innovate themselves, prefer to simply take over and co-opt cutting-edge technologies to assert their control over other people. And I know we believe this in this room. That's not Bitcoin. It'll never be Bitcoin, and you guys are going to make sure that happens. But as you know, there's a new sheriff in town because after 4 years of mistreatment and outright hostility led by Democrat regulators, lawmakers in this country have a choice. Will we lead our nation into a future of financial sovereignty, of innovation, and of prosperity, or will we let unelected bureaucrats and foreign competitors write the rules for us? And I'm here today to say loud and clear, with President Trump, crypto finally has a champion and an ally in the White House. In our administration, we understand the full potential of the digital assets industry, not just as an investment, not just as a flashy technology, but as a symbol and driver of personal liberty for all our citizens. And we are dedicated to seeing that promise fulfilled. The way that we see it, the people in this room are the digital pioneers of the American economy. And that's why our administration is doing something a little unusual in Washington. We're listening to all of you as you blaze the trail of innovation. The innovators in this room are making people's lives better. You're pushing boundaries and solving problems, injecting unprecedented transparency into how we do commerce. And the way we see it, you all deserve a similar level of transparency and clarity. And most of all, you deserve respect and support from your government, not bureaucrats trying to tear you down. Now that means a few substantive concrete steps, and of course the first and most important of those steps is straightforward. We've got to clean up the wreckage that the last administration left us, and since day one that is exactly what we've been trying to do. Our administration, we prioritized eliminating the rules, the red tape, and the lawfare that we saw aimed at crypto by our predecessors. We're ending the weaponization of federal regulations against this community. To put it simply, Operation Choke Point 2.0 is dead, and it's not coming back under the Trump administration. And by the way, it's crazy that was ever even controversial, the idea of using the regulatory power of the government to crush an industry and to crush people who espoused a view that you didn't like. It's crazy, but let my words today serve as Operation Choke Point. Let me serve as its obituary. Now this is my vow to every single person here. You will never see this administration trying to handicap your community or diminish the impact it's had on the economy. Instead, we reject the Biden administration's legacy of death by 1,000 enforcement actions. We reject regulators. Maybe the most important thing that we did for this community, we reject regulators and we fired Gary Gensler, and we're going to fire everybody like him. And we know that people like Gary Gensler, the game that they played is that under the pretense of consumer protection, they attacked every single effort to democratize our financial markets, and that is over. America. I grew up in a working class family. I believe that America is a place where anyone should be able to make a fortune, no matter where you grew up, what degree you may or may not have. And in recent years, I'm hard-pressed to think of a better place to do so than right here in the digital assets industry. Now, our second substantive step is we're trying to create a clear, pro-growth legal framework for stablecoins in this country. And I know we've got some solid allies in Congress. Is Cynthia Loomis out there today, or did she already go home? Well, you know, I was supposed to have dinner last night with Cynthia Loomis. We had a little event yesterday. And I looked around, I said, where the hell is Cynthia Loomis? And somebody said, well, she's got a dinner she had to go to. And I said, I'm the vice president. Unless she's having dinner with the president, Cynthia does not have an excuse to skip this event. But we love Cynthia, and I know that she's one of the great advocates for your industry in the United States Congress. Now, I know, led by Cynthia and other great legislators, Congress is hard at work getting the Genius Act passed and across the president's desk as quickly as possible. And that's an important step. It's with good reason, because regulatory uncertainty in this country has pushed way too much stablecoin activity overseas over the last few years. Now, somebody said to me yesterday that Bitcoin has done so much over the last few years with so many headwinds. Wouldn't it be nice to have a government that provided some tailwinds to one of the fastest growing industries in our country? And that's what we aim to do. And once the Genius Act is enacted, it's poised to vastly expand the use of stablecoins as a digital payment system for millions of our fellow Americans. It will also protect coin holders and inject further transparency into the market. And let me be emphatic on one other point. In this administration, we do not think that stablecoins threaten the integrity of the United States dollar. Quite the opposite. In fact, we view them as a force multiplier of our economic might. Dollar-pegged stablecoins, particularly once Genius is enacted, is only going to help the American economy, and it's only going to help the American dollar. So, again, we're optimistic that the Senate is able to move quickly on passing a clean Genius Act, and for the House to follow up and do the same. And of course, once that happens, our great President Trump will sign it into law the minute it comes across his desk. Now, when that's happened, when the administration will then fully shift to our third priority, which is to enact a transparent and tailored regulatory framework for digital assets, one that's pro-innovation and fully incorporates crypto into the mainstream economy. And again, I've talked to so many of you over the last couple of days, and the consistent fear that I hear with all the great things that have happened over the last couple of months, the consistent fear that I hear is that there's still this perception that digital assets are not welcome in the mainstream economy. And let me promise you that our effort to change the policy is purely about changing that. We want our fellow Americans to know that crypto and digital assets, and particularly Bitcoin, are part of the mainstream economy and are here to stay. Now, we think the way to do that legislatively, because again, I hope that our party is in charge for a long time, but nothing is ever guaranteed in politics. So the best way to ensure that crypto is part of the mainstream economy is through a market structure bill that champions and doesn't restrict the extraordinary value that Bitcoin and other digital assets represent. Right now, in this Congress and with this administration, we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to unleash innovation and use it to improve the lives of countless American citizens. But if we fail to create regulatory clarity now, we risk chasing this $3 trillion industry offshore in search of a friendlier jurisdiction, and President Trump is going to fight to make sure that does not happen. Think about this. By locking in smart, pro-innovation rules of the road, we can also make sure that Democrats or anybody else never wage another war on the crypto community. Now, I've already hit my time here, but before I head back to Washington, let me offer you just a few bits of advice and a few thoughts on where this industry is going. This is one politician's perspective, so take it for what it's worth. Maybe a little bit less than one Bitcoin right now. But let me say a few things. First of all, I remember when I ran for Senate the first time I'd ever entered politics back in 2022. And one of the frustrations, honestly, that I had with the crypto community as a person who was one of the only people running for office who actually owned Bitcoin, and I still own a fair amount of Bitcoin today. Think about this. This is during that campaign. That's 2021 and 2022. This feels like an eternity ago, but it was only 4 years ago, is that I recognize what so many advocates of Bitcoin recognize, which is what the Biden administration was doing, what Gary Gensler was doing was a disaster, and yet there didn't seem to be any real organization pushing back against it at the political level. And let me say that part of the reason that I'm standing here, part of the reason that Bernie Moreno defeated Sherrod Brown in the Senate campaign last year is because you guys got organized and got involved in American politics, and I'm grateful to you for that. But there's a lesson to take from that experience, which is that unless you guys get involved in politics, politics is going to ignore this industry. Now, you took a big step in 2024, and I tell you, every victory that we win, it's only a provisional victory. You know, one of my great mentors in Silicon Valley always told me that, Bitcoin, that the crypto community was about exit and artificial intelligence was about voice. Well, I know that a lot of people in 2024 in this community chose voice. You chose to speak up and you chose to get involved, and I believe you changed the direct trajectory of our country because of it. But you got to keep on choosing voice. Bitcoin, of course, people call it digital gold. But while Bitcoin is digital, none of you are. None of us are. What happens in the world of politics, what happens in the world of bureaucracy, it will affect even the most transformational and valuable technologies if we don't make the right decisions. So the first piece of advice, the first thing that I'd ask you is to take the momentum of your political involvement in 2024 and carry it forward to 2026 and beyond. Don't ignore politics, because I guarantee you, my friends, politics is not going to ignore this community, not now and not in the future. The second thing that I want to toss out there is that we have to start thinking of the long-term strategic implications of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is owned by about 50 million Americans. A lot of Americans have made a lot of money, have created a lot of wealth for themselves, and that's a great thing. But I actually think that where Bitcoin is going is as a strategically important asset for the United States over the next decade. It's one of the reasons why President Trump, with the help of our great AI guy, David Sachs, it's one of the reasons why we started the Bitcoin Reserve, because we want to start to put in motion the strategic importance of Bitcoin for the United States government. We know that the PRC doesn't like Bitcoin. The People's Republic of China doesn't like Bitcoin. Well, we should be asking ourselves, why is that? Why is our biggest adversary such an opponent of Bitcoin? And if the Communist Republic of China is leaning away from Bitcoin, then maybe the United States ought to be leaning into Bitcoin, and that's one of the things that we're going to be doing. But that's not a vice president standing up here and talking at you. The way that Bitcoin is involved in the strategic future of our country, that's got to be a two-way conversation. And so when I talk about getting involved in politics, one of the things that you guys got to do is continue to give us feedback and continue to tell us the ways in which Bitcoin can play a positive role in the strategic future of this country. I know the Bitcoin Policy Institute is working on this very topic now, but all of you have got to be involved in this conversation. Because I don't think any of us want to wake up in a country 10 years from now that is less wealthy and less prosperous because we made bad decisions today. We're going to make the right decisions, but that depends on you guys being part of the conversation. So be part of that conversation. And here's the third thought that I want to leave you with. You know, one of the ways you hear this stated is that crypto is fundamentally a conservative or right-leaning technology, and artificial intelligence is fundamentally a left-leaning or a communist technology. Now, I think that overstates things a little bit in both directions, but there's a fundamental element of truth to it. Now, I haven't been involved in the day-to-day operations of a technology company in about 4 years since I entered politics for the very first time, but what I've noticed is that very smart right-wing people in tech tend to be attracted to Bitcoin and crypto, and very smart left-leaning people in tech tend to be more attracted to AI. Again, that's a gross generalization, it's an overstatement, but there's an element of truth to it. But what I'd ask you all is to remember that what happens in AI is very much going to affect, in good and bad ways, what happens to Bitcoin. And of course, what happens to Bitcoin is very much going to affect what happens in AI. So, while this is certainly a Bitcoin conference, and I know we're all proud of what you guys have accomplished over the last 10 years, my final piece of advice is to make sure you're keeping tabs on and staying involved in what's happening with artificial intelligence, because I don't want Bitcoin to be negatively affected by what happens in AI, and most importantly, I don't want America to be negatively affected by what happens in AI. And the best way to ensure that smart people are at the AI conversation is to ensure that Bitcoin is part of the artificial intelligence conversation. Our administration is committed to it. I want you guys to be committed to it as well. I just want to say in the next few years in the Trump administration, we've accomplished a lot, but we have plans to continue to make big progress for this industry and for the American people who rely on it. The whole of government, we're going to need your help, we're going to need your guidance, we're going to need your encouragement, and at times, yes, because this is politics, our politicians are going to need your pressure. So, have fun this week, but keep the pressure up. And we'll do great things together for our industry, but most importantly, for the cause of personal freedom and the United States of America. God bless you guys, and thanks for having me.
All right, that wraps up the speech from Las Vegas for Vice President JD Vance. Let's thank a few sponsors. There's a programming note we could tell you about in just a second that's happening now. We want to thank allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. RSBN20 is the promo code to save you 20% off your order. Also, we'd like to thank Colonial Metals Group. Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/RSBN is the website for that free info kit. Also, angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas. Use that RSBN promo code there. You'll also save money on that great product. All right, it is 12:40 Wednesday, May 28th. President Trump is in the middle of a swearing-in ceremony for the interim United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, and also taking questions from reporters. Those of you watching right now, there's another live stream that's happening right this second. We'll see you over there right now.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
And you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation. You set a number. And if you go down, if I set a number at a ridiculous high number and I go down a little bit, a little bit, they want me to hold that number, 145% tariff. Even I said, man, that really got up. You know how it got? Because of fentanyl and many other things, and you added it up. I said, where are we now? We're at 145%. I said, whoa, that's high. That's high. They were doing no business whatsoever, and they were having a lot of problems. We were very nice to China. I don't know if they're going to be nice to us, but we were very nice to China. And in many ways, I think we really helped China tremendously because, they were having great difficulty because we were basically going cold turkey with China. We were doing no business because of the tariff, because it was so high. But I knew that. But don't ever say what you said. That's a nasty question. Go ahead. To me, that's the nastiest question. Wait a minute. Wait. Go ahead, please.
President Zelensky says he's ready to sit down with you and Vladimir Putin in Geneva, and it sounds like General Kellogg is working on preparations for that. Are you planning to sit down with the two of them?
Well, I will if it's necessary. It takes. We have to. I think I'm at this point. I wish it would have been that way a couple of months ago, but at this point we're working on President Putin, and we'll see where we are. I think we're doing fine, but we'll see. I don't like what's happening. That's one thing I'll say. I don't like when I see rockets being shot into cities. That's no good. We're not going to allow it.
You've always said that the war never would have started if you were
would have never happened, and it didn't happen.
He doesn't seem willing to do anything that you want him to do. Do you still believe that he wouldn't have launched the war?
No. We would have never had a war. We would have never had a war. If I were president, if the election weren't rigged, you wouldn't have had the war. You wouldn't have had the war. You wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had October 7th. That would have never happened because Iran was stone cold broke. They didn't have any money to give to Hamas or Hezbollah. You wouldn't have had that Afghanistan most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. You wouldn't have had any of it. You wouldn't have had inflation because energy costs. Look what happened. I brought inflation down to practically zero. And all of the groceries and all of the eggs and all of the things that you've been hearing about, they're back down. They're way down from where they were. I did something in 4 months that nobody's seen. And I have to say, in 4 months, and I said it before, and everyone's talking about it all over the world, we've got the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. We're the only country anybody's even talking about. All right, please go ahead.
What stopped you from imposing new sanctions on Russia?
Only the fact that if I think I'm close to getting a deal, I don't want to screw it up by doing that. Let me tell you, I'm a lot tougher than the people you're talking about, but you have to know when to use that. If I think it's going to hurt a deal, this isn't my war. This is Biden's war, Zelensky's war, and Putin's war. This isn't Trump's war. I'm only here for one thing, to see if I can end it, to save 5,000 lives a week and a lot of money. The money being much less important because I made that money. I went to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE, and we brought back $5.1 trillion. So I made that money in about 2 hours, the money that we're talking about, but it's still think of it, $300 billion we've spent with no checks, no balances. They just send cash. You can imagine what's happened to that money. I never saw anything like it in my life, but I'm more interested because I picked up $5.1 trillion and, by the way, got a beautiful, big, magnificent, free airplane for the United States Air Force, okay? Very proud of that, too. They tried to say, oh, it's Trump's airplane. Oh, yeah, sure. It's too big. It's frankly, it's too big, much too big.
When can we expect that to be the Air Force One?
Well, it's here already.
Yeah.
It's in the country. It's being refitted for military standard.
How much will it cost to refit it?
Oh, I don't know. Whatever it is, a hell of a lot less than building a new one. We're waiting too long from Boeing. Boeing has got to get its act together. Yeah.
Sir, on Nippon Steel, this arrangement that was just announced in the golden share, is that an arrangement you would consider for TikTok as well?
Nothing to do with TikTok. Totally different kind of a deal. We'll have to get, to do it properly, we'll probably have to get China's approval. China's never easy. China's never easy. But I think we'll be able to save TikTok. I'd like to save TikTok. I mean, TikTok was very good to me. I won the young people by 37%. No Republicans ever won, and I won by 37%. And Charlie Kirk will tell you TikTok helped, but Charlie Kirk helped also. Oh, Oh, he just happens to be here. Look at it. He loves that we mentioned that name, right, Charlie? He's done great, and I appreciate all the help. But with young people, we won by 37%, Charlie, and you helped. But TikTok was amazing. And he was the first one. He said, get on TikTok. So I have a little bit of a warm spot. I know I shouldn't. They'll say quid pro quo, put him in jail for the rest of his life, quid pro quo. No, TikTok was very good to me. I won young people. I don't know if it was because of TikTok, but it was something happened. No Republican has ever won they call them young people. Young people, you can define it a lot of different ways, but I won every age group in young people. And it never happened, and won by 37%. That's a lot. Yeah.
President, back on Iran, did you warn Prime Minister Netanyahu against taking some sort of actions that could disrupt the talks there in a phone call last week?
Well, I'd like to be honest. Yes, I did. Next question, please.
Talking about sanctions.
I did, yeah.
If Senate Republicans want to push
It's not a warning. I said I don't think it's appropriate.
What exactly did you tell him? Did you
I just said I don't think it's appropriate. We're having very good discussions with him, and I said I don't think it's appropriate right now. Because if we can settle it with a very strong document, very strong, with inspections and no trust. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody. So no trust. I want it very strong where we can go in with inspectors. We can take whatever we want. We can blow up whatever we want, but nobody getting killed. We can blow up a lab, but nobody's going to be in the lab, as opposed to everybody being in the lab and blowing it up, right? Two ways of doing it. Yeah, I told him this would be inappropriate to do right now because we're very close to a solution. Now, that could change at any moment. Could change with a phone call. But right now, I think they want to make a deal, and if we can make a deal, save a lot of lives.
When do you think a deal could happen on Iran?
On which?
A deal with Iran could happen. When do you
I don't know. I think over the next couple of weeks, if it happens. Yeah.
And on the, when could the administration resume the interviews for foreign students' visa? When do you think your administration could resume these interviews?
On what?
For the foreign student visa. Yesterday there was...
for the French visa?
For the French too, but all the foreign students.
Oh, for the foreign visas? What are you referring? Foreign visas for what? Are you talking about for colleges? Okay, so you're off of Israel. Now you're talking about colleges, right?
Yes, now.
Okay. Well, we're going to see. Look, Harvard has been a disaster. They've taken $5 billion plus. $5 billion. Nobody knew that they were making this kind. If we didn't do this, we would have never found this out, Pam. They're taking $5 billion. And I'd rather see that money go to trade schools. And by the way, they're totally anti-Semitic at Harvard, as you know, and some other colleges too, in all fairness to them. And it's been exposed, very exposed. And I think they're dealing very badly. Every time they fight, they lose another $250 million. Yesterday we found another $100 million. And they have, they have a fund, an endowment, $52 billion. All right? They get a lot of that from the United States. And I think it's ridiculous. I think everyone's coming up to me saying, we love the idea of trade schools with that kind of money and money from others, but money from them. You can have the best trade schools anywhere in the world. You give them to Iowa, Indiana, lots of good states, well-run states, and you give them the money. They can only be used for trade schools, and they'll teach people how to build motors and cars and AI. The AI, we're building plants. We're building hundreds of billions of dollars worth of AI plants. Already started, many of them. We've never had a boom like we're having now. You're going to see it. There's never been anything like it. So we're up to about $14 trillion in investments. There's never been anything even close. You look at Biden, this guy, they had people leaving as opposed to investing. And they're doing it because of November 5th, and they're doing it because of the tariffs. The tariffs have been tremendous. I can promise you, and I have great respect for the people at the European Union, they wouldn't be over here today negotiating if I didn't put a 50% tariff on. The sad thing is now when I make a deal with them, it's something much more reasonable. They'll say, oh, he was chicken. That's so unbelievable. I usually have the opposite problem. They say, you're too tough.
Mr. President, on Harvard, there were some Jewish students protesting on campus yesterday. They said they don't want you making these huge cuts, cutting off student visas to Harvard in their name, because they feel
Harvard
like it
has
makes
to
them
show
more
us.
of a target.
Okay, Harvard has to show us their lists. They have foreign students. About 31% of their students are foreign-based, almost 31%. We want to know where those students come. Are they troublemakers? What countries do they come? And we're not going to, if somebody is coming from a certain country and they're 100% fine, which I hope most of them are, but many of them won't be, you're going to see some very radical people. They're taking people from areas of the world that are very radicalized, and we don't want them making trouble in our country. So I saw yesterday that in the middle of the UK, there was a nice young man. He wants to go back to school at Harvard, and he looked good to me, but I want to check his past. But we want to be able to see why, these countries aren't helping us. They're not investing in Harvard and all of we are. So why would 31%, why would a number so big? I think, number one, I think they should have a cap of maybe around 15%, not 31%. We have people who want to go to Harvard and other schools. They can't get in because we have foreign students there. But I want to make sure that the foreign students are people that can love our country. We don't want to see shopping centers exploding. We don't want to see the kind of riots that you had. And I'll tell you what, many of those students didn't go anywhere. Many of those students were troublemakers caused by the radical left lunatics in this country. All right, one more question.
President,
yeah, go ahead, please.
Will you pardon the people who are accused of conspiring to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer?
I'm going to look at it. I will take a look at it. It's been brought to my attention. I did watch the trial. It looked to me like somewhat of a railroad job. I'll be honest with you. It looked to me like some people said some stupid things. They were drinking, and I think they said stupid things. But I'll take a look at that. And a lot of people are asking me that question from both sides, actually. A lot of people think they got railroaded. A lot of people think they got railroaded. And probably some people don't. One more. Go ahead.
How will the confrontation with Harvard end? Do you foresee?
I don't know. I don't know. Harvard's got to behave themselves. Harvard is treating our country with great disrespect, and all they're doing is getting in deeper and deeper and deeper. They've got to behave themselves. I'm looking out for the country and for Harvard. I want Harvard to do well. I want Harvard to be great again, probably, because how could it be great? How could it be great when you have Harvard announced 2 weeks ago that they are going to teach remedial mathematics, remedial, meaning they're going to teach low-grade mathematics, like 2 + 2 is 4. How did these people get into Harvard if they can't do basic mathematics? How did they do it? I mean, people with 1,600 on their boards don't get in, and they're letting people in, and they're bragging about how they're teaching them basic mathematics. Where did these people come from? So we have to look at the list, and Harvard has to understand the last thing I want to do is hurt them. They're hurting themselves. They're fighting. Columbia has been really, they were very, very bad what they've done. They're very anti-Semitic and lots of other things. But they're working with us on finding a solution. And, they're taking off that hot seat. But Harvard wants to fight. They want to show how smart they are, and they're getting their ass kicked. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Headed right back out this door. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Head out. Thanks, guys. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck, everybody.
Okay, as you saw moments ago at the Oval Office, the president swearing in the interim D.C. attorney there, Jeanine Pirro. So also a bit later, in about an hour from now, the president will be signing some executive orders from the Oval Office. So as we get that feed, we will bring that to you right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thank you so much for watching the Vice President JD Vance on the other stream for the Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas, and joining us right now to see President Trump there in the Oval Office. Again, the possibility of seeing him one more time today at the Oval Office as he signs some executive orders. Stay with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We'll let you know when it happens. For all of us here at RSBN, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you in a bit.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on Overstock.